It's a cog.
We should be live now, but I will just check my phone. We should be live anyway. Is it not gone live?
Not yet.
And welcome to a gaming...
there we go.
There we go. A gaming conversation with friends is back with a lot of people on this week. Big time in the Xbox and gaming world it has recently. We're back after the Xbox showcase. Best showcase in years, if you ask me. But we will have a chat about it.
The Soviet Union is no more.
People on this week that,
Despite a potential for instability
removal
and chaos,
sanity. Welcome back.
these events clearly
Hello,
serve
just a
our
quick
national
note,
interest.
on at least on YouTube, the trailer sounds large.
Free from the specter of global
Just
conflict.
to let you know.
Oh, right. Oh, I messed that up, didn't I? There we go.
Yep.
Right. Welcome, Wondering Dutch, Paul AFC. Yes, there we go. I fixed it. There we go. Cheers for that. I missed the soundbar there. There we go. Right. We're back. I'll say it all again now. We're back now. Gaming conversation with friends. There's been the Xbox showcase and Gears of War was announced. And welcome back, Removal Sanity.
Hello to all. It's great to be here, and of course, it's great to have Luke, Centurion, and Paul on the show. I mean, come on, let's face it. You know, we don't get this many legends in one shot, so you must have.
It's my laziness. I need to invite more people on. I do.
You bribed them. Come on, how much did you bribe them? Was it a couple of grand each? You know.
I'll tell you in a sec.
Yeah,
As I was about to say, that's where our budget's gone. It's all from you guys.
That's why you've missed your. That's why you've missed.
He actually made me sign an NDA, so actually, I'm legally I can't.
That's where your biscuits and cakes have gone. Removable.
Too bloody right. There I am thinking I'm getting cookies on this show, and the only cookies I'm getting is on the internet cookies. I don't know. But obviously, it's great to have everybody on the show, and I'm looking forward to the topics. Something about Gears 6, someone was mentioning.
No, don't know anything about it.
Doesn't exist, does it?
No, apparently not.
Only Stubbs' memory.
It will. If you read the interview, all the info, they will get to it. But I think it'll be a while. I do.
2030.
Probably. But VJ, welcome back on.
Hello there.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Thought you might be introducing the guest first because everyone knows me.
I know, but I usually go through the panel members first.
Yeah. Removable's done my intro for me, so I'll just repeat what he said and you're good.
And Luke, welcome back.
Hello.
You may as well be a panel member.
Yeah, I get to chat about the Xbox show again.
Again, yeah, it was last night on Indie Gamers podcast.
Yeah, round two.
Round two, it definitely is. And we have on first time on this podcast. I've known Centurion for a very long time in the community since he first got into it. We even used to do our own podcast together and various bits, but we're still friends to this day. But this is the first time he's been on this podcast. How are you doing, Centurion?
I'm doing good. What is up, everybody? Yeah, me and my wife were actually talking about it before I got on here. I have been chatting with Stubbs on social media, podcasting, whatever you have it, since February of 2019.
That way, really?
Wow.
Yep.
I know.
That's because I still remember to this day. There was two people that hit me up on Twitter, and that was Stubbs and Dreadpool. And I still keep up with Dreadpool here and there, but Stubbs, me and him, we communicate, I would like to say, pretty regularly.
Yeah, we do.
So I know like none of us have been as active on social media because I mean, at this point, I wouldn't really call it social. We'll just call it insanity.
I know.
But no, man. here we are, getting back, in my opinion, back to the roots of what I enjoy doing, and that is podcasting with at least I want to say like-minded, but when I say like-minded, is we might be able to have a difference of opinion, but we're not going to be out here having these like ideological freaking discussions about just insane stuff. We're going to actually have fun and actually have some good banter. And this is what I live for when it comes to podcasting and doing content creation in general, is just having a logical discussion where people can actually have a difference of opinion, but we also don't need to go down and like beat our drums for another platform for whatever reason. Like, it's okay. Like, you've seen what's been going on.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Xbox had a damn good showcase.
They did.
Like, I have to agree with Plume, somebody I keep up with on social media. If you thought Xbox's show sucks, then you must obviously hate gaming.
Exactly. There was a wide variety. There was of games. There was something for everyone. There was. Are you there
for
still?
sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
There was something there for everyone, and I know that there is a lot of people right now that are probably a little hurt that the term everyone includes certain platforms that they would like to see for whatever reason, just for their own for their own self, like, I don't know, what's the word, like, you just want to feel affirmed in the console you bought.
Yeah.
Like, for whatever reason, like, I am not going to enjoy this Xbox if somebody on a competing platform can also play this same game.
Exactly.
What?
That stuff's going. It's all going to eventually be play wherever you want to play. Basically, it's going to be.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, let's face it. PlayStation fans kind of were hit out of left field when they found out that we're going to see a spinoff of Horizon on Nintendo. Now, obviously, I didn't think for 1 second it was going to come to Xbox, but I definitely had to laugh when, like, some people lost their minds that Nintendo fans are going to be able to play Lego Horizon.
But yeah,
I lost you guys. You went quiet.
Stubb sometimes reads the chat, and in that period, you'll notice it just goes a little quiet.
yeah, it's
No
my
problem.
fault. Sorry.
I'm over here lit on shots of espresso. So sorry if I get a little too talkative.
But yeah, no, it's good to have you on. Just letting people know we've known each other quite a long time. 2019, I didn't realise it was 2019. I knew it was something like that. I did.
Back in the war.
back in the
actually,
back in the Moon War.
like not to bring up past names, but like, it's like back in 2019 when Mooch and Crap in the Morning actually freaking liked Xbox, and there was actually, it was a different world back then. Nobody really knew who Colt Eastwood was, and unless you were in the thing. Like, dude, 2019 is like a time that, like, you wouldn't even recognize what's going on.
It's true. It's shifted massively. It has. Yeah, it definitely has. But yeah, I'm pleased you can make it. And I'll just address Scott. The one time I don't ask you to come on, you actually want to come on. I can't win. Can I, Scott? Every other time, I can't make it. Welcome, Invader Gaming. Thanks for popping in. And another guest and friend, obviously, that's never been on the channel, Paul AFC. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Stubbs. I just want to say thank you very much for inviting me on. It's been a lifelong dream of mine to get on with you.
It's really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure.
All the ribbon I give you over Twitter and WhatsApp. So it's great to be on your legendary show, and especially with the esteemed company of Removable, Luke, Mr. VJ himself, and obviously Centurion. So I'm in great company, and I can't wait to get the show started.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks for coming on. So, there was some games. There was some games, wasn't there?
Look at Scott's reply.
I must feel good. Paul AFC, I wouldn't even know how to feel. Oh, he loves to wind me up, man. I didn't ask him, I agree. But normally it's... Oh, I can't make it on.
To be honest with you, he doesn't really ask me or VJ. We just actually
They
turn up one
literally,
day and
honestly, it is true. I don't even say you guys up for it. They just turn up. It's true.
Clip it.
Go ahead, clip it. But yeah. So, shall I go
Where
to
do we
gears?
begin?
Do I go to no? Do I? Probably.
You kind of want you want to dive in first, or do you want to leave it until more of a central piece as a last,
Maybe
discuss
probably
this?
leave it till the end. I'm dying to talk about it, but I think probably leave it to the end.
Remember, we have no sort of path within this podcast.
Yeah,
I would leave it to the
there's
end because that's
yeah.
going to be like an hour-long conversation in itself.
We don't have to. We're not going to have. You don't have to talk about every game at the showcase because there was loads. But I'll pick a game.
Its Scalebound looked brilliant. I must admit, absolutely superb.
I honestly wanted to say.
Everyone just paused. All the sides like, wait, did that happen? And it's like I was waiting for the see if anyone was actually going to pick up on that. No, it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Right.
Maybe one day.
Well, actually, I had to laugh at your Scalebound thing. I wanted to kind of take a dig and just be like, you know what? I think the game that stole the show was Winterboro. I can't wait to play as a mouse and start knitting my little sweaters.
Oh, it's the one trailer I didn't download.
That's what the indie was.
Dude, it's okay.
You just can't. You know, this is a whole podcast about Winter Mouse, and he has to kill it straight from the beginning. We have to move on to something less known now, like Gears.
Dude,
you know.
I know we had such a huge discussion planned. We were gonna get down to like what game engine was used, frame rates, and all that stuff.
The graphical fidelity. I mean, Jesus. God.
Right then, I reckon. Where is it? There we go. We'll talk about Doom. There we go. Doom, the Dark Ages.
Doom.
So I'll go with some of the new guests. Paul, what did you think to this one?
I actually watched it a second time today because maybe I didn't take it all in, but I was just. I mean, I said yesterday on Indie Show, I thought this looked like this was almost ready to come out. The production values, the graphics, the gameplay mechanics, it's all been freshened up with a shield that looks awesome, and the music as well. It's just Doom. It just looks frenetic, hard, and just a great fun to play. And yeah, that was a great showing, and I'm can't wait for 2025 on that one.
Yeah, it does look fun. It's But I have downloaded, like I said, I have downloaded Doom Eternal. It's on the Xbox. It's ready to have a go.
You're going to go easy mode or normal?
Well, Indy reckoned to go normal. Then, if I struggle, go down level.
Mate, them Marauders are tough.
But Eski said he reckons it's hard on easy.
It is, yeah. I died God knows how many times because I think it was the final level, and I was like, now I've got to drop it down to easy. Finish it.
Oh.
I did rage quit it once and uninstalled it, and then the next day I installed it again and done the boss.
Oh, fair
enough. You should play Ancient Gods, which is the DLC.
Oh, God.
Because that's like 2 parts. It actually caps off the story of Eternal properly, but it ramps up the difficulty quite significantly. So it's a real challenge. It's great.
It was really easy for you to Luke, basically.
Yeah, Luke's
yeah, for me.
Luke's a master, us peasants who played it on a controller, on the old controller.
Yeah.
The question is, I suppose, for Doom, is if you know this recent reiteration is, does it end with him being put into the box?
Well, that would be spoiling it, wouldn't it?
Well, you know what happened you know what happened, don't you? Because you get, you get released from the box. So it's like you already know what's going to happen. The question is, does this one put him into this box, or is there more further to this particular early part of that franchise to be added soon?
Yeah.
What do you think of like a game with some DLC, kind of like you had with Doom Eternal? You didn't get like the whole story right in the actual base game. There was the DLC that continued on the story.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We know this is set basically well before Doom 2016, and I think I heard Hugo Martin, who's the game director, speak on IGN about it, and he said, this is really the first, in terms of canon to the recent story, this is the first conflict that the Doomslayer is involved in. So it's a proper prequel. It's like we're meeting the Doomslayer as he engages in his first war, as it were. So yeah, I really like what they've done to the story of it, because I mean it's just even before 2016 the story's non-existent but also ridiculous. Hello. And they've really leaned into trying to do something ridiculous with the story and make it very over the top and very silly.
What?
I'm not like tripping, right?
No, I don't think you are.
Who was that?
Sorry, it's my son.
Been on the helium.
Oh,
sorry.
That was Stubbs on helium.
It's my son. Sorry.
He's been sucking on the hope.
I was getting him a drink, and he I don't think I muted it, and he thought he'd say hello.
The funny thing is, Stubbs, I thought it was my kid. I thought, has he jumped into my call?
Every parent just quickly looked at their monitor.
Yeah,
going, hang on, where is
For
it?
a second, I wanted to be like, are we being hacked? What is going on?
That's what I thought.
Christ.
We've been compromised.
It's 360 land. Just waiting for someone to, do a 30 kill streak on me, and it's like, you, god damn it! This squeaky voice comes out the other end.
Wow.
Well, that's mixed it up a bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's still your thought process, hasn't it? Now.
Yeah. No, I'm back on it. No, but yeah. So the story is ridiculous, but in a really cool way, and they really lean into the kind of the stupidity of it all. Which is cool, and yeah, I think like this, like Eternal ends on a certain thing, and this one is obviously a prequel to that. So, and a prequel to 2016. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Which it actually does time, because if you go through the games, it does hint at the historical lore of the Doomslayer, and why the demons are so afraid of this particular individual.
Yeah,
So it'd be interesting to see if it's I suppose it's him as he's doing his legendary battle, isn't it? Effectively, this is creating the legend upon which those particular demons at the later games are afraid of.
Yeah. So and he wears a fur coat now. So
have they actually identified? Are they going to do the multiplayer, which they did for Eternal? Is that going to be expanded upon, or is that going to be?
They haven't talked about that yet. I assume they will have some multiplayer in it, but it's not really. I mean,
because to be honest with you, I must admit the season passes, that was a bit lackluster for me. I was like,
yeah, I don't think most people now are buying a Doom game to play multiplayer. They're buying it for the single player.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The mix up with the fact of where one guy was a Doom guy, and then you had like the other players were playing as the monsters, the demons. That actually it actually was quite fun. It did chop it up a little bit, give it a little bit of freshness. I think what was kind of a bit lackluster, at least for me, was just the season pass. It was just here's a skin with a new colourful weapon, or maybe you might get, or you have to do all these particular side quests, or grinding out for this particular particular skin. That was like, all right, it's just a reskin. Didn't really add anything to it, sort of thing. But it was just, it felt a little bit lackluster in terms of the season passes. But the actual, I at least found it quite endurable. Was the actual, the variety of, the demons against the Slayer. So it'll be interesting what they're going to do. Are they going to kind of do something else? Maybe a Doom Horde? You never know.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know.
They like to change things up, don't they? They like to change things up, so you never know what. I'd like to see if they are going to change it up rather than just like
maybe Demon Slayers, PVE.
Exactly.
That could be quite cool. In like a co-op thing.
So it's it would be something like that. Even just like one person plays, almost like a. I was going to say like remember the old Star Wars, where it's like 60 players. You could have one guy as a Doomslayer, and everyone else would be the soldiers behind him, and on the other team could be the demons.
That'd be cool.
So there is potential to kind of expand upon it and make it unique. As you said, most people play Doom for its single player gameplay, but if I think they do like to lean heavily into the multiplayer, and there is a historical multiplayer fan base there, so getting rid of it completely I don't think would go down well, but it'd be interesting to see what they come up with. They do like to kind of swap things about.
Yeah.
The weapons are cool in this game as well.
I think the shield, the shield, amazing.
And that bone shredded thing, the skull, that is crazy. It's like he had better toys then than he has now.
Well, that was actually, I think that was actually in the lore. That's where he was actually trying to find when you're going through the game, you're starting to find some of his old weapons. So that kind of does play into some of this, to be honest with you. And he may, through this story, you might find that he just loses some weapons as he gets through. Some are destroyed forever. Some are just like, locked away. Again, you don't know how it kind of plays out, but the combat and everything else seems to be on point. So it will be interesting to see what happens. Is it a 2025? This one?
Yeah.
So, and it showed gameplay, which is always a nice thing, rather than just CGI.
That is nice. That is.
What a game to open the show with. I noticed. So
was it COD that opened it with, though?
Yeah, but first proper one after the introduction.
If anyone wants to jump in on this, feel free. Okay. On the Doom game.
Doom. Yeah, don't stand on ceremony. We don't care.
You know what? Let's just I guess rip the Band-Aid off. Because for me, it's a I don't give a shit moment. But I saw a lot of people that were just very upset and mad that game is not going to be Xbox exclusive. Personally, I don't. To me, it just comes down to at least the money-making person inside me that's like, hey, if they see money-making revenue potential somewhere else, and then it's also it's in my opinion to just get that term Microsoft Studios on that platform, just for people to see that that's like an Xbox studio and that maybe they should come check out the other stuff. It's almost like baiting them. But when it comes to Doom, a couple media sites did come out and say, hey, this franchise has been built being multi-platform. It's only proper for it to be multi-platform. And that's a fair assessment. But we can also see that a lot of places also want to weaponize the fact that, Xbox isn't willing to aggressively, put exclusives on their console. But I just feel like if they did something like that, they would essentially be leaving money on the table, money that could go towards, keeping the studio. Because to me, it comes down to this. I love how everybody wants the console war and be like, Xbox needs to have exclusives because they need to somehow stay relevant in the consumer's mind. But this is where I have a big issue with that whole train of thought, because I look at it from the perspective of the developers involved, the people who actually put their blood, sweat, and tears into creating this game, time away from their family. Damn well some of these guys had to work on one of their kids' birthdays and stuff like that. So they put a lot of time and effort into creating these games. And would it be proper to say that a game should be kept exclusive for everybody to feel jolly about, you know, feeling justified in the plastic box that they decided to sink their money into. And it just comes down to, you know, I would rather see these games make more than enough money to keep everybody employed, to keep the development gears turning, and to keep the doors and the lights on at the studio. And for me, I just don't care, because like I own all the platforms, but it is fun when you have somebody at work who only owns one console or the other, and you're able to still have a conversation about playing the same game, rather than having it to just go like, "Hey, have you tried this game?" No, it's not on my platform, and then that's the conversation.
Well, that's a historical reference, isn't it? I mean, it was, Doom was originally a PC game, and
Oh
then it
yeah.
went multi-platform. So to say it's just going to stay on, as you said, it was an intent later on to become more multi-platform. But as I said, it was not like the 80s and 90s where it was exactly that. If you was either you either use a Sega, Nintendo, or PlayStation, it's like, did you have this? No, I haven't got that. It's like, oh, okay, we can't talk about it. But do you have this one? Yeah. Now, of case, they are trying to, as you said, cross develop and cross play a lot of games, and it means more revenue in general. I mean, I can understand timed exclusivity. That I could probably understand, depending on the platform you choose. But yeah, generally as a multifaceted games being multifaceted across every platform is only going to end up providing more funds regardless. I don't mind seeing something that's like, okay, something that's been on PlayStation for 5 years and now it comes to the Xbox. Something that's been on Nintendo, 10 years now, it's come on to PC or PlayStation. It doesn't matter in those regards. Or even a brand new title or new franchise. Okay, it's 2 years, 3 years exclusive to this platform, then it switches over. I don't see an issue with that. I don't think outside of the more onerous elements of social media, most people would really argue with that either. I don't think most people have that worry. I think it's just a loud small minority that kind of.
Oh no, definitely a loud small minority. What a lot of people, I'm just saying that I'm thinking that once a certain amount of money has been invested into developing a game, and I'm talking like like the minute you sink like $200-300 million into a game in its development, 200-300 million plus, you start running into a risk of potentially not making your money back, as we've seen with some other developers and publishers that make exclusive deals, like with, for the sake of argument, PlayStation. And now you're starting to see some of these developers and publishers say that the games are not hitting the mark, not with fans, but they're not hitting the mark on a return on investment, because with a lot of these like, regardless how a developer feels, you need publishers, and publishers are generally those looking for a return on in their investment of investing a lot of money into this game. And so when you start having these big ballooning production values that for developing games starting to get as big as they are, certain executives in the industry are even starting to say that the minute you have a game go into what is considered AAA territory because of the size of its budget, essentially it's looking like more AAA games on a AAA budget are going to be multi-platform, regardless of, if they have exclusive, like if they're like an exclusive IP or something like that, purely because you need to make your money back, at least for making the game, plus a little bit of revenue, at least a little bit of profit. And that's where I just feel like we're now at a different economic world, where because it's costing so much to develop games now, a certain style of game, these great big blockbuster jaw-dropping experiences, that now we're starting to see them starting to pop up on other platforms, because they realize by limiting the reach of that game, they're actually limiting the ability to get their return on investment. Does that make sense, or am I just kind of going crazy?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That does. Yeah.
Like, it would be like you owning a business and saying, I only want to deal with these people, rather than I want to deal with anybody, and anybody who wants to deal with me. So
You're basically cutting your nose to spite your face.
Right. Well, it's like every time you see a game, like every time like the big one here was as soon as Doom came out and everybody saw it was going to be on PlayStation. Of course, we had the Final Fantasy arguments come out. This Final Fantasy game isn't on Xbox or this, that, and the other. And I understand that argument, but Square Enix has even shown that train of thought has really caused a lot of financial strife on Square Enix. And so they're starting to go down a different avenue. Like we're starting to see them starting to be on more Xbox stage events. They were even on the Developer Direct in January. It looks like Square Enix is like, hey, the days of us probably making all these deals with PlayStation on the scale that we did, it's probably not going to be as commonplace going forward, purely because we need to keep the doors open at Square Enix rather than trying to appease PlayStation fans. But that doesn't negate the fact that PlayStation already has these deals in place to make it difficult for the Final Fantasy games that everybody wants to see on Xbox that aren't there. PlayStation already has those games kind of like contractually obligated to fulfill whatever PlayStation is looking for. So it's not like Square Enix can just walk in and be like, yo, we're going to tear up this contract and do what we want, because that's a good way to get yourself dragged into court. So it's like I could see the argument, and they're like, well, where's Final Fantasy VII on Xbox? And it's like, well, maybe it's just not that easy.
Or it's timed.
Well, apparently it was supposed to be timed. But then they, according to what I've read and heard, PlayStation keeps renewing whatever timed exclusivity that they have. They keep forking out money every single year to keep it on their platform. And that's where I'm kind of wondering, like, is PlayStation going to keep forking the bill for that game? Or has it reached...
That'll only happen. Yeah, that'll only happen for so long before the returns.
Well, yeah, before the return. Yeah, well,
so you're right. It might whack it. It may be they do it for 5 years. You know, something. You know, they've got the financial buffer to do it. If this is true, to do so for 5 or 6 years or something like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen for an eternity.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. And that's where I'm just curious on like. Not to be mean, but look at the production values between the PlayStation State of Play and the Xbox Showcase. And you can already see that there is a difference in production values where one company made their show a little bit more budget oriented versus the other company threw, a huge fan fest, and they threw everything in the kitchen sink at their showcase.
It's not really the same thing though, is it? Because they're not quite the same thing though, because one of them is, a small Nintendo Direct level presentation, which is the State of Play. So naturally, it's not going to have, a huge showcase like feel, and then the other is, Xbox's biggest.
Well, the only reason why I make that joke is because when was the last time we saw a stage event come out of Sony? I think the last time we saw one, a guy was on the. I think it was held in a tent at E3 with a guy playing on a flute.
Yeah, I think
that's why. And I'm just saying that was the last. Yeah, I'm just saying that was the last stage event that I can remember, and I'm at least saying that even though Xbox technically has a smaller install base when it comes to the size of its ecosystem, especially with console hardware, they're still willing to go out there and have these events to actually have a presence with the fans, where the number one selling console on the market, the leader of the gaming industry, won't even do anything on that scale. They literally are just like, here's a 30-minute presentation of whatever it is, take it or leave it, and just F off.
Well, I don't think that's gonna. I think not necessarily true. I mean, it's not gonna happen this year. Yeah.
It's their prerogative at the end of the day.
Yeah, and also I think that if you look at what PlayStation do, I mean, they invest significantly more money. I think we can all probably agree in marketing, right?
I'll just jump in there, Luke. So, like, Centurion in Europe, there's something called Europa Football League. PlayStation sponsors it completely. So it's massive brand awareness. That's probably where they're putting their money.
And that's where now you're getting into the habit of like the debating different marketing practices, because
that's what it is.
that's actually something I do for my job. Is I am actually the one that handles a lot of digital marketing. There's many different facets to actually how to approach marketing.
Yep.
And yes, you can approach marketing by sponsoring huge events where there's lots of people and all that other stuff. But there is also the idea of being more social media oriented and using like influencers and other types to actually market your content. Now there's pitfalls to, in my opinion, at least Xbox's side of marketing, especially being very heavily reliant on social media, because that's where, in my opinion, you see a lot of these I'll just be blunt to say it, some of these frauds that like to flip flop based on the, you know, the changing of the weather, where, you know, like look at Redfall, we saw influencers like, yo, this game's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great work of art from Arcane. It's gonna be fun. And then the game came out, and you saw some of these influencers were like, yeah, when I was at like Arcane Austin, I noticed there was some issues with the game, and I just felt I had concerns. And it's like, well, did you voice these concerns to the developers while you were there, or were you too busy brown nosing, worrying about being flown out to a developer again for voicing the actual truth? You basically led the developers into thinking that the product was okay to be released when you maybe should have spoke up.
That's individual people, though. You know, that will happen regardless of whether or not it's, you know, regardless of if you use influence or not influence. There will always be, as you sometimes call it, grifters in the franchise. But in terms of the showcases, what I would say has historically happened, and this is just my opinion, this was that it would be Xbox would provide what they seem to do, which is like bullet point, here's a game, bam, 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 bam. Where PlayStation, on the previous PlayStation events, they seem to provide almost like a theatrical experience. So it's a kind of a different way of doing things. And that's not to say that the PlayStation won't drop something this year anyway. I mean, they probably will do, I suspect. Or, depending on their financial budgets, maybe they've just gone, do you know what? We have a very good pull in the marketing. Why are we spending money on a showcase, a big, large, flashy showcase, when we've still got that pull for this year? Maybe we'll save it for next year. Focus it on the games. You know, I would say we're not there to see the financials or see the marketing strategies of what's going on. We can only talk about the aftermath of what's going in there. My gut feeling has always been, let the games do the talking.
I reckon that's how we should pull we should pull the conversation back towards the games. I reckon we should. Did you have any thoughts on this, VJ? On this game, Doom?
Not really. I'm not really a Doom fan, so yeah. So happy to switch the question to someone else or move on.
Anyone else got any thoughts on this game? Nope. Right, I will move on. Right, what did everyone think to Fable? I'm sure that would be a popular one.
Who's going to go first?
I thought Fable was incredible. There we go. It looked great. It did.
You know what? Fable is definitely on my radar. It looks great. It's going to go back into the roots of what Fable already established. You know, you guys might even appreciate it, the good old-fashioned British humor. And that's where it's a game that didn't exactly take itself seriously, because there was so many spoofy things that would go on in Fable games of past, that it's great to see that they're still retaining a lot of that like quirky humor and just off the cuff shenanigans that can take place in the world of Fable. And I'm really looking forward to what Playground Games is really going to do. And in my opinion, at least it also shows that you can have a developer that is known for making a certain style of game, and it's completely okay for them to go in a completely different direction when it comes to development. and break the mold and do a completely different game than what has normally come out of their wheelhouse.
That's true. That is, you give them a. I'm pleased to see it's kept to its roots, and I do think this will be a very appealing. This will bring in the old fans of Fable and new fans of Fable. I think this will be quite a good game. I do to try. I'm probably wrong. Mooble's about to probably just to disagree with me.
I can't judge. To be honest with you, I've been bitten by trailers and snippets before, so this is a trailer and snippets showcase.
Yep.
Until I see a good chunk of gameplay, I'm holding my mind, as I do with a lot of trailers and snippets. You know, anything can be made to look quite flashy and quite good for a trailer. Even with like in-game snippets, I'm waiting until I see something of more substance.
Yeah, that's
just me at the moment. I'm just like, oh, I've been bitten, and because of that, I'm like, I guess I'm a bit more jaded.
yeah,
I'm just
you can appreciate it for what it is, right? But when you
I can appreciate the story or the
exactly, because when you ask someone, what do you think of this? It's for something like this, similar to when Hellblade 2 was shown off, right? Words aren't really necessary, right? They do unnecessary, well, they do too much harm in my opinion, especially when you're asking someone for a comment and you don't really entirely know what you speak of, because there's so many components to a game, and opinions are often laced with opinion and self-interests, and that's always the problem. But I think what Stubbs is trying to say is that you can appreciate the promise and the premise of what it might hold come 2025, which is still a pretty open date for the game. And I don't mean to switch gears, but I think Indiana Jones did a is it the second or the third trailer we've seen for Indiana Jones? Did a better job of showcasing to me in terms of what to expect in terms of gameplay and the pace of it.
For me, again, I held it was more CGI and snippet of trailers.
It was a bit of gameplay, but more kind of
of what it was about.
It kind of gave me more of an indication of the sort of pacing to expect. And again, there's far more components to making a good video game than just getting the pacing right. But it did a better job in portraying what the actual game is versus, say, Fable as an example.
I think my issue is that I've seen, and I'm just probably coming across as a jaded, grumpy old git. It's just that I've been bitten too many times of well-crafted trailers and CGI snippets that don't match up to what the promise is, and so because of it, I'm just so.
That's all it is. Removal, isn't it? It's just future promise, right?
It's the future promise that I have been bitten of so many times that I'm just like, do you know what? I can appreciate it for what it is, but I'm still gonna literally wait until I see. This is one of the reasons why I did like showcase. Yeah, when they showcase
Rise of the Robots on the Mega Drive still got you bitten hard, isn't it?
Bloody well did, yeah. That's one thing I did like about the showcase. It showed more gameplay than trailers, and that was a good thing for me. I like my trailers. It goods, it hypes everything up, it gets people enthusiastic about the games that are potentially coming out. But if I can see a decent amount of gameplay, and when I'm talking about decent amount, I'm talking more than 30 seconds. It probably lends itself more of my trust in the game, and that's how I kind of that's the way I look at it. I was like, there was trailers in the showcase. I think there's six trailers, if I remember correctly, with some snippets, where the most was more just proper actual gameplays, where I feel I'm a little bit more happy with. And Fable and Indiana Jones were, I don't know, it was more trailerish than I would preferred. But again, as you said, they come out in 2025. Both of these. It is 2025. Indiana Jones. Am I correct?
No, it's
this year, I think it is. Yeah.
Is it?
Indiana Jones is this year. There's
That's
no
supposed to be
actual
anyway.
date though, but it's this
See,
year.
so maybe we'll get something like maybe another showcase of it, a little bit more gameplay mechanics later on in the year, hopefully then. Because this just looks like in-game cutscenes. It's great, as you said. It tells me something about it, but it's a cutscene. Yeah, you know, it's great. It looks good, but it's a cutscene. So I'm waiting until I see the actual game before I comment in that regards. I mean, you know, is anyone else? I mean, assuming is anyone else in terms of their views? Did this kind of ramp up your enthusiasm for it? Anyone?
I did.
Of
I actually,
Fable, or-
yeah, it's probably one of the few games that I thought this and I can't remember the other one, but this one, yeah, Indiana Jones definitely piqued my interest this time around.
It's got the humor. That's one thing I did like, especially as you can see it on the map. The fact that they've got, was it the 1990s? Is it 1990s? 1980s? Jesus. It's got that slight humor to it, sort of thing, which I think is a good sign. But in terms of this and Fable, what was everyone's thoughts on it? If you had to choose, which one would you prefer, Fable or this one?
Oh, that is a tough choice. I'll go first if you want removable.
Yeah, go for it, please.
I think that I would pin my hat on this, on Fable being a really good game because of who's making it. Playground consistently deliver great games. I know it's a different genre. I know it's completely different, and there's a lot more workings that go into RPGs and action adventures. So I get that. But if there's one studio that can nail it, it's got to be them. And it's looking to me that they've captured the tone, the visuals, the audio, the humor. I think that this is just only going to get better and better as we approach the early part of next year. And I think it's going to wow us when it drops. That's what I think.
It's good to hear. Anyone else? Feel free to jump in, lads. I like the fact I said something, and everyone's just gone absolutely quiet. That's quite unusual.
No, I'm like, well, okay. I didn't want to like constantly be talking, but I mean, I really feel that I feel like both games have a chance of actually really being very successful. Especially with Xbox scoring a licensed IP style game, something that is still relevant with a lot of people that get into that side of pop culture, especially with Indiana Jones, and also especially with Harrison Ford, obviously getting pretty old, so he's obviously going to live on in the games. But that's where, I mean, it's really hard to pick between either one. I want to say that I feel like Indiana Jones has the chance of being more successful just because they're going to be able to tickle the nostalgia bug of a lot of individuals that have a lot of influential say over what can be successful and what cannot be successful, because let's just face it, I refer to it as the gaming media overlords. I know that the gaming media has probably a little bit more love for Indiana Jones, and therefore, as long as Machine Games sticks to what Indiana Jones is supposed to look and feel like, which we can, like you mentioned, the humor that they kept in the game and just the overall style of what Indiana Jones is supposed to represent. Like one thing I was concerned was, is this game going to be like a first person shooter constantly running around? Because Indiana Jones, I've played a couple, like, let's face it, one of the most successful Indiana Jones games to this day is Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, which is on PC. And I've played it like 2 or 3 times. And you're not running around running and gunning in that. You're problem solving, you get out the whip, stuff like that. And that is essentially the essence of Indiana Jones. I was worried that they were going to turn it into like a first-person shooter, so it was nice to see that they've incorporated the puzzles or the thinking part of the game. They've also incorporated a lot of use with the whip when it came to traversing and obviously disarming your opponents. There was some stuff in there with guns, but it wasn't like, like what we've seen with Wolfenstein, where it was just all running around like Doom-esque style, just shoot 'em up. I have my concerns, especially with just how temperamental certain people can be, that I have all my faith in Playground Games. I know they're going to make a really good game, something that I'm going to enjoy playing, but that's because I don't get myself wrapped up in the gaming media or like social media shenanigans of like we've already seen people um already poking at the character model for the main protagonist in Fable. I really do feel that Fable is going to be regrettably graded on a curve and put into a microscope, that I feel like there's going to be people that are going to find issues with the game that are going to be very irrelevant issues, but because they're part of a very, what we said earlier, loud vocal minority, that it's going to maybe potentially overshadow the success that Playground Games deserves in what they're trying to do by tackling an entire different style of game than what they've done in the past.
Has to be a good game first, though, right? I mean,
well, it has to be a good game. It has to be a good game, but I'm talking about stuff that I have brought up on my own podcast, and I'm not going to try to bring it up here because this is not my platform.
Sure.
But it's basically the concept of the minute you have a protagonist that seems like you're trying to go down any ideological stance when it comes to what the entertainment industry is trying, especially around the terms of what they like to throw around, like the word woke. It definitely brings out a lot of crazy ass criticism. Like I mean, like look at Days Gone, like with the Kotaku article that came out with Days Gone. And like some of the stuff we're seeing, like with Assassin's Creed Shadows, Star Wars Outlaws, just like how it's like, oh, you're trying to force feed us your ideological principles, and we don't want nothing like that. And if by some chance, because that's the only thing, like you guys have a different way of thinking over in Britain, and especially in the UK as a whole, and also you guys don't get wrapped up in as much as like I'll just say it, some of the insanity that takes place here in the States, with how, at least here in the United States, it's either extremist left, extremist right. There's no way to meet in the middle. You're either trying to force your point of view on me, and if you try to do anything in my video game that I don't agree with, you're an absolute piece of garbage because I don't agree with your ideology. And that's
tribalism is what I think is the term you're looking for.
And that's like, there's like, at least here in the States, there's a lot of tribalism when it comes to like what we've seen recently with how Ubisoft has tried to tell a story of an individual in Assassin's Creed Shadows that people are trying to say like is non-existent, even though you can prove that that man existed. Or just the tribalism of like, like we've seen recently, the arguments of what a female character model should be in a video game. And that's where I just really do feel that I just do get a little concerned that I feel like Playground, like at least Fable, is going to be graded on a curve, because I don't feel that, at least in the United States, the Western gaming media is maybe not going to understand some of the humor that I might be able to understand. But that's because, like, I've been talking to Stubbs for years. Like, the funny part is, I actually jokingly will cuss like a UK person sometimes just to screw with people here in the United States, because I've heard Stubbsy cuss all the damn time, but as a like the word bollocks. Like, you say the word bollocks out here in the United States, they have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
We love that word.
Bollocks. Bollocks.
Or the word,
You're saying it wrong. That's the way you say it.
Bollocks. Or like the word fanny. Like,
Daz likes that.
That was a funny one for me when I found out. I'm like, really? What the?
Welcome to Indie Gamer and welcome to Daz. Yes, Daz likes to say funny.
Yes, he does. But that's where I thought it was funny. Like, the whole time, like, Daz is the one who kind of keyed me onto it. I had no idea that he was saying it because in at least over there, it has a total different, like, purpose and meaning than over here. And I'm just like, so that's why it's so funny now when I actually hear people call each other that here in the United States. I'm like, you have no damn idea.
But either way, though, I think that Fable and all these games coming out, I think they'll be fine. I do.
Oh, I think they'll be fine. I feel like no, I'm just talking from a gaming media perspective. Cause I mean, like, let's face it, we've already saw that, like, look at what happened with Hi-Fi Rush. Oh, this was a great game, and we really felt that the developers deserve a lot of credit for what they gave us. But because we're unhappy with what Xbox has been doing, we're going to knock it a few points in our review just because we're unhappy with Xbox. And it's like, yo, you're not reviewing Xbox. You're reviewing Tango Gameworks Hi-Fi Rush. You're not reviewing the business policies of Microsoft.
You mean like Metro UK?
Yeah, but Metro have been horrendously. I mean, Metro aren't very good, but they've been wildly taken out of context for that point. That's not what they actually said. But
I read the article.
You read it wrong then. It wasn't particularly well made, but the point they were making when they did that Hi-Fi Rush review was they said Hi-Fi Rush is the best Xbox exclusive, but that's not saying much because of the previous release slate. So they weren't docking it points because Xbox hasn't had great games or a great review, a great game cycle. They were saying that we can say that this is a fantastic Xbox exclusive, but at the time, it's not saying much because there's not been many great Xbox exclusives. That's what they were saying. But I think a narrative built around them saying, well, because Xbox hasn't had good exclusives, we can't give this one a high score, which is just nonsense. It's just not what they said.
Well, you just said it that it wasn't well written, and in my world, at least what I have to do for a living, perception is a mother effer. And when you give the wrong sense of perception, regretfully, you can't escape perception.
Sure, but and it wasn't that well written. The review as a whole, and like, it was okay. It was fine gaming journalism. It was not like astonishing, but I think the problem was reading comprehension rather than perception. Some people read that in the wrong way and then spouted a narrative from it, which spread to this day. And that's not me saying, Metro are amazing, right? But it's just,
But that's where it comes down to, it wasn't comprehension, because actually I have a very, very stout reading level. And for me, it comes down to, you're reviewing a game from Tango Gameworks called Hi-Fi Rush. Bringing in your problems with Microsoft is tainting the discussion. That would be like me wanting to have a discussion with you about anything and trying to interject a narrative into the conversation to somehow create a branching fork into the discussion, when literally it should have been around the game itself, not because there is literally people that still, for whatever reason, have a personal problem with Microsoft and Internet Explorer, when Internet Explorer went out in like 2010, 2012. So that's where to me, it comes down to, if you want to write an opinion piece based on how you feel Xbox has been acting as a company, that's cool. But don't undermine or game review that could potentially help a developer, but now we see that developer got shuttered by Xbox. So it comes down to, words have a very severe weight in our society, and when you tear down a developer because of something they had no part in, now you have the issue of, can we say that because of people's issues with Microsoft, rather than trying to praise Tango Gameworks. They wanted to go down the discussion of their issues with Microsoft, and now we no longer have a talented developer in the gaming industry.
I don't think there's a causal link between Metro's review of Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh,
and
I'm not
the
saying
shuttering
no.
of
I'm
Tango
not.
Gameworks.
I'm not saying it was Metro that did it exclusively. I'm talking about the perception. Like, it's the concept of like the term the Xbox tax. It may not exist. It may not exist. It may exist, but it's the perception of what goes on in the industry that makes it to where there's an argument to support it on both sides.
They did give Hi-Fi Rush a good score though, Metro. So I don't see what the real issue is.
For me, it just come across as disingenuous. That was a personal opinion of mine. It just, they didn't need to put that in there. I know it's the truth, and that was a fact.
Oh no, I'm not going to deny that it's not the truth, but I actually think you hit it better than I did.
It's that perception piece, isn't it? Because it comes across as disingenuous because they're mentioning it. Yeah, we know it. We don't.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, that's a valid point. But if it has no impact on the score,
yeah.
And remember, the original point was people thought that this game was scored down because of the point when it wasn't. Then does it really matter? Does it make any difference?
Was it an 89 in Meta, wasn't it? So
yeah, it didn't make any difference to Metro's score. It didn't make any difference to the Meta. Studio was still shut down. So it's irrelevant. The point is irrelevant. I mean, if you don't like reviewers bringing up ancillary points to the game they're reviewing in a review, that's fine. But that's a stylistic choice of the reviewer, and then the best thing to do is just ignore the review if you don't like that. I've read many reviews actually where the review of a product, let's say a film or a game, is actually a diatribe into the person's own, like, their personal life, their lived experiences, and it interweaves elements of the game. It's more about a reflection on how the game is to them and how it plays to them than maybe many of the facets of the game itself. So I'm not saying Metro did this with the review of Hi-Fi Rush.
What you just said is what I was just trying to get to, like, bring it back to Fable for Stubbsy. That's all I was trying to get at, is like what you described right there is there's going to be a lot more nostalgic love for Indiana Jones, because there's going to be a lot of people that grew up on Indiana Jones. They're going to Indiana Jones also represents an older style of entertainment that a lot of people want to still see around, that doesn't get done very often anymore, just out of just how the direction of the entertainment media is going in the world. So that's where they definitely want to see stuff like Indiana Jones kept relevant. But that's where I just do feel that, at least with Fable, we're going to see probably more of that stylistic writing of a game review when it comes to Fable, because I just feel like Fable is going to be a little bit more of a flexible game when it comes to the ideological principles in the game and the stuff that it can do, where I feel like Indiana Jones is very straightforward. And so I do think that there is going to be more reviewers that are going to be more open to discussing their personal beliefs and views in their Fable review than they would in the Indiana Jones review.
I think that's only a positive for Fable, though, isn't it? Because if you're saying that, well, I think most people would probably agree that gaming media, by and large, tends to be very supportive of, diverse casting, diverse protagonists, or et cetera, et cetera. Fable looks like it's going for kind of a smorgasbord of many different people in the game. It's Albion, it's a magical world. So surely it would do quite well, because people, if it's a good game, that is, because people would appreciate in the gaming media that it's very diverse. In fact, if anything, Indiana Jones may do conversely not do as well, because it's Indiana Jones. So,
well, I know, yeah, like, because if we go off of like places in the past that had I still remember the Kotaku article that about Days Gone, where they brought out the gender and the race of the character within the first sentence of the review, and I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be an interesting review right here.
Yeah.
I don't actually, I'll be honest, I don't. Reviews have their place,
my point is like, it's just so what, I mean,
I don't really look at reviews.
You cannot control narratives at the end of the day. Is that what it said? Everybody is going to base what they write on based on their education, based on their experiences, based on their opinion and their own self-interest. And unfortunately, you just have to get on with it. And if you believe a certain game or a certain product highlights your interest or has been negatively impacted, again, so what? Either go out and do something about it or shut up.
Yeah. It's just it's
subjective, isn't it?
It's a subjective form of criticism.
Yeah, it's just a pointless debate, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's
really
why the debate. That's why the debate around individual reviews is so stupid to me. Because it's
ridiculous.
It's the opinion of a person.
If you can't comprehend today that anything you do promotes a movement or polarizes opinion, then where have you been? I mean, I don't go on the internet very much, other than to mock removables reviews who I find terrible. But it's I'm just kidding. Yeah, but he's about the only review person I read, right? So or listen to or fall asleep to.
It's like
you fall asleep to.
When we had Gotham Knights released, that game got canned for obvious reasons, and I picked it up and I played it. I put in about 35 hours into it, and I bloody enjoyed it. And
that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Yeah, any game.
I also enjoyed playing Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. The game mechanics, like the end game on that game, did not keep me and my bro involved in that game very long past playing. The end game content is it's shortfalling, at least for me. It had nothing to do with the writing. It had nothing to do with the principles of the developer. Choosing to make certain characters outshine another character. It had everything to do with just the mechanics of the game that I just really wish that there was more in-game content to keep me engaged, but not at any time. I was laughing at some of the writing because I thought it was funny as hell, especially with how they made Captain Boomerang look like a horse's ass constantly. I thought it was funny as hell.
Yeah.
I think
it was just a poor man's, wasn't it?
Was that Moogle? Mm-hmm.
I said, to be honest with you, it was just a poor man's Gears. I was waiting for someone to try and slightly tag us into that.
There we go. Right. I think we should shift gears into Gears.
Yeah.
Because I know Stubbs is dripping at the bits at the moment. It's like, how do I swing this in here? Okay.
Is that what I've been hearing? Because I was about to say, I feel like I've been hearing somebody nod at table or something while I've been sitting here, but
he's gnawing at the bits to try and get his opinion on how Gears End of Days will be an utter total failure.
What?
Is that right?
Right. I think we should shift gears into Gears of War E-Day. Now, I honestly thought that we were my predictions were wrong. I thought we were going to get Gears of War 6 or Gears of War Collection or Marcus Phoenix Collection, or just to keep Removable happy, a Carmine Collection. And we didn't, obviously, but what we got was even better because it's Gears of War E-Day, so the whole Gears of War universe revolves around Emergence Day when the Locust attacked Sarah. If you don't know, Gears of War is not on planet Earth, by the way. It's on a planet called Sarah. And it shows you even in this clip when Marcus and Dom and they weren't prepared to fight. They were prepared, but they weren't, because everyone's used to Marcus being the badass that fucks everyone up, etc. And you see that he's not. He's a young man, and he's learning, getting to grips with fighting the Locust because it was something new. It's what the whole this game will show you the bond between Marcus and Dom, because they call themselves brothers, but they're not really actually blood brothers. But they are, if you know what I mean. It shows you the whole bond through, which no one's ever seen. You can look up the lore; it's all there. But in the games, they've never actually. It's never a story that's been told, but it's one that's always been. I think people have always wanted Gears to return to the dark, the gritty, and the horror elements like Gears 1, 2, and 3. Gears 4 and 5 are light and fluffy compared because used to be, not being us, used to be Gears of War used to scare kids and young people, like General Rahm from Gears of War 1. He was a scary dude. I mean, I'll be honest, I think they killed that character off far too fast in the first game. He was seriously scary. And I think the emphasis is on, because it's obviously been built up for the ground up, Gears Unreal Engine 5. These even here, I know this isn't probably in-game, it's obviously a CGI, but we have seen Hellblade 2, we have seen Coalition has helped other studios make games. And yes, everyone wanted it to return, Daz. I see your comment. Yeah,
Stubbs, do you have Stubbs? Do you have Twitter open?
Twitter. That's Twitter.
Do you have X? Are we really going down this road?
What's that?
Do you have that toxic environment where everybody argues with me on your computer?
No. Why is that?
Here, I'll send you to so I'll send, because you actually called Gears the Gears trailer CG'd, and like Jeff Keighley did that too, and he's being lambasted by
so is it not
the developers?
It's not. It's in game.
Oh, you bugger. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I sent you two tweets.
I see it now. It's in game. Yeah, okay, it's in game.
Yeah. And Jeff Keighley's being lambasted online by people that actually did that trailer, and they're like, "Hey, we're glad you liked it, but it wasn't CG."
It's in
what
game.
I liked about this, what about this trailer is that
why don't you just take it as a compliment?
No, because actually that would be
technically it is CG because it's computer graphics.
It's computer graphic, but there's a difference between using CG and in-game assets, and that's one thing that, like, it's kind of like when you pour your heart, like I said, this is where a developer puts their heart and soul into something, and the last thing you want is somebody to devalue your work by not properly pointing out that it's actually not a CG, like, you know.
What does it matter? What's the point?
It matters. Well, if you're a developer, it matters.
It's got people excited though. This house, regardless.
Yeah, you can be bitter and annoying and irritated about it, or you can be gracious about it.
Keighley might not have
gracious
known.
about it.
But that's why he's somebody that should actually be a little bit more in the know-how. But that's where it comes down to: don't devalue what somebody does for a living. But
he's not doing it deliberately.
No, he's not doing it on purpose. And if he's made a genuine mistake, you know, this is the problem, isn't it? Now you're lambasting him for no reason, no apparent reason whatsoever. Everybody makes mistakes at the end of the day.
Well, it's not my fault that Jeff Keighley's done a good job of making himself not a very liked individual in the gaming industry.
Well, then that's your opinion.
That's why I'm just going off of what public perception.
Carry on, stuff.
I think the question has got to be really answered here. Is that clearly this trailer, when this goes to the gameplay, which will clearly be like Gears Tactics, will Stubbs play it?
So this is obviously not going to be like Gears Tactics. This is going to be.
No, didn't you see the interview? It is.
Yeah,
it's an RTS.
Yeah, it's an RTS.
You better not be. It better not be.
I've just got hyped up for 24 hours straight, and it's an RTS.
If it is, the hype's dead.
It's like
I'm going to go bananas if it is.
It's a bit like Brutal Legend, so it's like third person.
Like this in Unreal 5. Come on, what more did you want?
Yeah,
I think people are fucking with me.
No, what they said was it's a bit like it's like Brutal Legends. It's a bit like a hybrid. So you've got like third person gameplay, like classic Gears gameplay, and then you go into like isometric / top-down real-time RTS.
Yeah. You'll love it.
Are you happy that Gears was announced in some sort of shape or form, Mr. Stubbs? I think that's
Even
that's
if it's
the
an
key thing.
RTS.
Yeah.
Well,
Or an action RPG.
Turn-based one.
Go ahead, Stubbs.
I think he's died.
I think he's on his chest. He's deep into a paper bag at the moment. Going,
Xbox Wire is on the site.
do you know what he's researching right now? He's gone quiet. He's going through every 500 sites to try and find something. The rage in him is starting to build up, and he's just mashing the keyboard now to try and find anything that says this is not going to be an RTS.
Has he muted himself?
He's probably just done that mentally. He's just physically shaking right now, looking at the screen.
To be fair, he does go off to make toast. He does often go off to make toast.
Wow, that's
honestly, that's it. You've snapped him. His mind has gone. That's it. It's just
he's rage quitted.
That's it. Unfortunately, that's why Stubbs is. He's that much a fan of RTS. Gears Tactics was his top Gears franchise ever.
Remember, he's probably gone down the gym to work out all his stress.
Right now, he's just smashing a dumbbell against the wall.
If there's not enough weight on the stack for his leg press now.
He's got a picture of Marcus on the leg press machine. Is he like?
One more.
It's just, that's how he saw himself. I reckon he just saw himself, and now he's gonna have to click.
Do you think he dresses up in the cog gear at night?
You fuckers, I fucking fuck with me. There's fuck all on it. It's a fucking normal Gears game.
I told you. Every internet thing.
Are you happy, Stubbs?
Yeah, I would be pissed off if it was an RTS. Trust me.
No. But I mean, look. Generally, with the announcement, are you happy?
You're not happy for Gears of War E-Day, third-person shooter. Yes,
it could be a first-person shooter. You don't know.
They wouldn't be so. They wouldn't dare.
They haven't told you.
They wouldn't dare. That's one mechanic they wouldn't change. They wouldn't because then it's just another COD.
It could be a narrative-based point-and-click adventure. Come on, you like point-and-clicks?
No way.
Perfect for you.
No, there's no way.
This
is going to be generation defining. This is going to be the best game that they've released on the Series X.
As a point and click, it can't be generational. I heard all the cutscenes are going to be nothing but still images with writing on the bottom of them.
What like?
It's Stubbsy. Paul S in the chat. Gears of War roguelike.
Oh, for...
Actually, they're going back, and they're also going to do all the character models out of Gears Pops.
I like Gears Mobile. They got rid of it.
Yeah, I was about to say this is definitely going to mobile. Yeah, this is going to be it's everywhere. I reckon. Do you know what it is? On the next one, they'll switch it, and it'll be Gears Multiverse, and it'll be Lego.
But one thing I do like, because obviously over the years people said, "Oh, Coalition's done with Gears. I don't like it." In the interview, they doubled down and said that no, we are very much focused on Gears, and the future of the studio is Gears. So that shut people up, but it probably won't shut people up.
Wait, it's just didn't know what type of Gears. Gears first person.
Because I think it was this game was revealed a while ago. Do you remember when the Coalition released some snippets from the Unreal 5 engine, and they were wearing Gears of War suits, and no one realised it was Gears of War? I think that was snippets from the game, and no one realised. I didn't realise either.
Oh, you mean that the Unreal Engine 5 demo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope, that would definitely. At least I picked up on it. They used models that looked like they were out of Gears, and also the environment looked like it was from one of the environments in Gears 4.
Oh, maybe. Oh, well, either way, I'm excited for it. Not an RTS. No.
Are you sure?
Gears Tactics. I hated. I just watched the lore trailer. I never finished it. I just watched all the lore.
You didn't even play Gears Tactics. I mean, come on.
You won't see another Gears Tactics. I think it failed because there won't be another one.
Of course it failed if Gears fans like you won't give it the chance.
It's too slow. Gears is slow compared to Call of Duty, but its RTSs are very slow. I can't stand them. Gears is quite. People think it's fast when I'm playing with a Nasher gun. People think, oh, it's well fast, but it's not. It's a slow shooter. If you especially like the best gun in the world, the Nasher gun.
Fair. The question is going to be really is will you get to play as either Dom, or will you get to play as Marcus, or will you get to play as a nice little robot buddy that can float around behind you?
Bloody, there wasn't no robots around then.
Yeah, he'll go for the float robot buddy without a doubt. Gears Stubbs will be just like, that's it. Don't care about Dom. Don't care about Marcus. He'll be the robot buddy.
Indy, I'm talking about the multiplayer side of things. It's not fast, but when you compare it to the other fast shooters like Call of Duty, etc., it's quite slow. It is.
And then actually, the multiplayer could be RTS, or first person. They like to switch.
Hopefully, I presume there's multiplayer.
Running at 30 frames per second.
Oh yeah. Nice and buttery at that nice 30 frames per second.
With black bars.
Oh yes. Right across, yep. It'll be yep.
Shout out to the PCMR. We don't have to worry about things like that.
Well, black bars we do, but
I modded Hellblade.
And yeah, you can mod it out. It doesn't look quite right though, sadly.
Yeah, it zooms in a little
there's
bit.
Esky boy, 1v1 me.
Yeah.
Stubbs, he says. He hasn't run. I haven't 1v1'd him yet.
I suppose one thing I'd be interested in finding out is, and here's, if you are a Gears fan, the Skrill. Is it the Skrill, if I remember correctly?
The Krill, yeah.
Krill, yeah. They weren't in a lot of the Gears games. I remember seeing them in 1. I think they whacked it in 4.
The Krill were only in number 1.
Yeah.
No, I think they did have. They did showcase in the background. Was it? No, it was in 1. I think it was in 3. They showcased it off a little bit of the Krill, and didn't they showcase it off in your favourite one, number 4?
I've never seen. I'm gonna have to go back and I don't think the Krill have been seen since Gears War 1. I might be wrong.
The bat type things.
Yeah.
The
Krill.
Yeah, I can't remember them.
Gameplay mechanic in 1, but I definitely saw it in 3.
I'm just trying to think. The Krill were in the big bridge scene. You drive across the big bridge. They were there too. They may have been in more than one game. I can't.
Yeah.
They weren't in 4 though. It was the original trilogy. The Krill.
And I was just wondering.
You had to be in light, or was the Krill could get you.
That's right. Yeah.
I think they'll bring them back for this one.
Yeah,
they probably will.
If they're going for the horror feel, then certainly I think that would fit.
That would bring it back. I think that's one of the things that it was that brutal sort of, as you said, horror sort of theme. I think they kind of need to bring that back, and hopefully they said that it did not. And I think you showed me this. Didn't they say that they're trying to make them be the monsters under the bed in this game? They are trying to be.
They're trying to make them as scary as possible, and it's through the eyes of it's obviously the likes of Luke won't be scared. He's a horror master, but they'll do a lot to scare him. But they need to make it because, like Gears 4 and 5, a lot of the new characters were not scary at all.
Well, the crux of it is, aren't they limited now? Because let's face it, they're not going to be able to bring in, I suppose, a lot without some sort of lore change. Not going to be able to bring in new enemy types because it's not then going to fit for the subsequent games. What did that particular enemy type just disappear?
Yeah, it's true because you've got to match it with the lore, haven't you? You've got to match it in with the lore you have. So yeah, you are right.
Make new enemies. They're not going to just not do a new enemy. It's something interesting to fight.
You'll see Queen Mera. She'll be there.
They've got one of the scariest enemies at all in the games for you, Stubbs.
What's that?
The Moss Charger. Ooh.
That's definitely not going to be in there. That's not scary.
Comes out of one of the Emergence holes.
Mm-hmm. But the question that ones I've been seeing is who are the other characters in the game? I think a Carmine's going to be in there, but the question is, what's the other two? And I think did somebody say is it Tao? They're thinking that he might be.
Yeah.
So come up there.
Anya. Anya would be in there.
Maybe. I don't think Coltrane's going to be in. No one's mentioned Coltrane in this one.
They won't.
Had one trailer. They can't mention that much.
Coltrane. Yeah, Coltrane. Yeah, they can't. Well, he only appears, isn't he? Is it the first or second? I can't remember. The second one, isn't he? He appears.
I mean, you'll probably see why Marcus ends up incarcerated in this game. Anyway, you will.
I don't know, because in the start of the first game, it straight up says 14 years after E-Day. So, is this game going to be there from moment one on E-Day, or is this game going to take
that's the problem. It's
years?
Such a vast time period. You are correct. It may not be there.
It could be like 3 games there. It could be easily 3 games set out over, I don't know, every 3 years or something. You could easily do that. Have another 3 games straight up before the very first.
There's a high chance they could start doing it again because they've got a new tool set. Because he used to bring gears out every roughly 3 to 4 years, and they could, once they've got their, baseline set, etc., they probably could start doing that again.
Yeah, that to me that was a little bit of a stretch when I saw, because you saw it. I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna replay the Gear games because I just want to do that. And first thing it says, you see Fenix in jail, and it says 14 years after E-Day, and the first thought in my head, I was like, dude, this new game is going to deal with E-Day. Are they going to really try to cover 14 years worth of info?
Yeah, no, they won't.
In one game? That would be a long stretch.
Because Gears 5 doesn't even finish the war that they end on, so they won't finish it in one game. But it is a good point. It could be stretched over 3 games.
Prequel.
Do you really want a
prequel 1, 2, and 3?
Though?
Yes.
A trilogy of prequels.
They're going full Star Wars with the
I don't know. You're probably right, Luke. It doesn't sound right, does it? A trilogy of prequels.
I don't think they're making this with the idea that we'll do 3 games. About
you need to keeping my hopes up. I like this kind of stuff.
They could have
they're going to make more Gears game stubs. They're not going to make a kart racer afterwards. But I don't think they're going to go
multiplayer, couldn't it? Gears. I
don't think they're going to go. You know what would be great? Gears of War E-Day 2.
That's true.
The reawakening and the re-emergence.
Well, you never know. It could be a 40-hour campaign. Who knows? I doubt it.
It might just be like a 20-hour campaign that, as Paul says, that has time jumps.
Yeah, they do time jump. Yeah,
a lot of games where it's like 5 years later. You're at this point, so it's possible.
Because sometimes some of the periods that
story beats.
If they follow their standard path, you'll get it. You'll get the about you'll probably get a couple of days before Emergence. You'll get the Emergence. You'll get them surviving to a point where they get picked up by the COG. And then it'll be 3 years later after their training. And then you'll see them on that. They'll do something. And then it'll be another, as you said, another 3 years further down the line. And it'll be just one of these potential jumps. Because if they did that, didn't they do that in the first one? As you said, it's like, they did a jump and then a jump. I think they've done in the first and the second one, they did a couple of jumps. So it wouldn't be surprising if that kind of hits. What slightly gets me is the fact they look younger. And
they will be younger.
The
origin story.
Do you know what it is? It hits the feels because I know the story of these two and the ending. I'm already going to go in with the feels.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm already going in.
What happens?
The Dom, and you've already seen.
It's going to play on your emotions.
It's going to play on my emotions. And the question is, are they, as a good storytelling team, going to because what's going to really piss me off is if they don't have a very good story which connects those two really well. Because if it's like, hey Dom, hey friends, oh you're my buddy, yes you're my buddy, let's go shoot something.
I'm sure
that's going to grate me more because I know of what the first, second, and third built upon. They built that thing. They really need to. It's a little bit of a poison chalice because from 1, 2, and 3. You knew they were very tight people. You knew the two brothers, and their bond only got steadily better throughout those two. So for them to get here, they're going to have to go through some stuff.
Yeah, and trials and tribulations en route, where it's near-death experiences, and they're saving each other, and there could be so many different arcs that they could go down.
If they fail that, it's going to grate some of the fans because it's not a bad thing. It's just because they're so invested in these two. And that's 100%. I think that's a poison chalice. I don't envy anyone because, as you said, it's expectations. It's an unspoken expectation. You've got people who are absolutely beloved of these two characters, and how they've mentally built them up in their own minds. So it's going to be intriguing to see if they can pull off the story side. And what worries me slightly is Gears 5, that's where I felt it lacklustered. It wasn't the mechanics. It wasn't the gameplay mechanics. It was the story.
Yeah, that's why they did it on the Hivebusters DLC. It was a completely different writer they had, and it made so much more of a difference.
You saw how many people absolutely loved that one, and as you said, it was a different writer. So it's if the story isn't to scratch, it could backfire, and not in a good way. I'm hoping, because that's the thing that's going to really get it, is they need to build this story between these two characters and probably others as well as we further go down the line. But this is that buddy relationship that a lot of us have grown up through the 80s and 90s, and the new gamers have also kind of got through now. But it's a poison chalice, so I don't envy him.
I'm sure that that the guys at the Coalition have probably checked out some reaction videos.
Well, they've got the lore, hasn't it?
Exactly.
They've got the lore books to show. Well, as Stubbs, as a avid reader of the lore, does it do it justice? Without giving us any hints, do you think the lore itself that's already out there does justice to these two characters in building up and setting them up for the next 3 games? The 3 games we already have.
Yeah, there's enough lore out there to make like 14 games.
No. Does the lore that's currently out there set it up a good buddy story? Does it set it up already, or is it a little bit woolly, open for interpretation to a point?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
In your opinion,
I haven't deeply looked into Emergence Day lore. I know the basics.
Fucking hell, what's the point of you?
And then
I'll be doing that next.
I've only played Gears 2 actually.
No, I've played all of them.
Do you know what he told me? And this is how I knew Stubbs was not a proper Gears fan. He played Gears 2 before he played Gears 1.
Did you actually?
Yes.
Wow. I was there, Stubbs. Right. I bought Gears day 1.
I had
Gears 2 day 1.
Didn't have an Xbox, you see. I bought an Xbox, and a bloke at work told me I should buy Gears 2. So I did. He said it was good. So that's how I got into it.
Didn't even play Gears 1 on Insane either.
Well, no, I've never done that. I know you have. That's why you're mentioning it.
But it'll be interesting. For Gears fans, I think it's a good choice. Again, it's the story that is going to be something I think that most Gears fans will be really looking forward to seeing if they do a good job of it. And is this 2025, as I mentioned, this release, or did it not?
There's no release yet. I keep saying 2026, but that's my guess because Xbox has got a lot of games coming, and there ain't a lot of space till then. But that's only a guess. They didn't even say nothing.
Yeah, I think that's the earliest you'll get it. Is 26.
I was only basing it off the amount of content that was in that show. There are loads of games.
There's no need for them to rush it anyway, because look, I mean, Xbox have got so much stuff coming out, right? So there's quite a nice gap, I think, around 26 for stuff like Perfect Dark and potentially Gears as well. So yeah, I don't think they'll rush it. Plus, Coalition have spent a long time, completely revamping their tech for this game. So obviously the cycle is going to take longer. But presumably it's, chugging along now. But
I suppose the question that's going to be asked then is there going to be an intermediary Gears game to kind of sate the fans' appetites, or do you think it'll be literally you just won't hear anything now until release day, till it's almost near?
Yeah, I think realistically next year at the showcase you might get the first gameplay demonstration of it, and then it will just be set for release 2026 or something like that. But I don't think there's any intermediate Gears gaming product that's going to happen. I think they're just going to work on this, and then maybe they'll.
I think there's maybe, like as you said, there's a hidden Carmine collection ready to come out at any point.
No,
I've given up hope on that. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't. At this point, I think it's they are quite aware that the fans want a remastered version, and I'm kind of in 2 points. Are they waiting to see how well this one does in terms of the new software before they then take on the responsibility of remastering?
I don't know if the Coalition would actually remaster it. I think they might, if it was a collection, they might get a third-party studio to do it. Because it'd be too time consuming. It'd be very but it'd be very time consuming. Rebuilding them for the ground up, 1, 2, and 3, it'd take a lot of time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. With this game, it's going to have the character models. It's going to have all the software that's potentially already built, ready for it to be. I'm not saying it's going to be still an easy process, but it's got the basic fundamentals already worked out, so that it can then be utilized for the remasters. Because I think my worry is, as I say, is the moment you give it to a third-party studio.
Oh yeah,
isn't third-party studios that are good out there, but they never give it the true care and attendance that your original studio will.
Are you talking? Are you guys? Would you want a remaster, or are you veering towards a remake?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
If it's a remake, then you have to go by what Luke's just said in terms of if they're still developing or maturing or refining their pipeline, then you have to wait for that to complete before giving it to an outsourced studio. That's what I'm
is EA going to be there? What's the word I'm useful? VJ, you're having.
Would you be happy with a remaster, or would you want a remake with a sort of what do you call that? With gameplay, slightly more modern gameplay features to just enhance the experience.
Yeah, because I think if you're going if you use it, it depends on which one are you using. Are you using remaster interchangeably for remake, or do you mean remake, or do you mean remaster? Because there's
okay, let's
not
take,
UVJ
let's take,
removable.
I've got to find out what you mean by remake. I don't get it.
Hang on, you shush Stubbs for a sec.
A remake is where they're rebuilding the game from the ground up, new assets, new texture. Look at the fundamental difference between the original Resident Evil 2 compared to the new version of Resident Evil 2. That is a full-blown remake where they did it from the ground up, new assets. It's a totally entirely different game, where a remaster is we go through, we plug in some machine learning, we touch up textures, we clean up the resolution, we definitely try to boost the frame rates and stuff like that. But you could still the core game is right there. I would probably say.
I was going to say the best way. I was going to say I've got a slight difference on remaster. My closest intent for remaster is Night Dive Studios remaster. where it's a little bit beyond more than just simply retouching it up with a higher frame rate and a higher graphical fidelity. They do go above and beyond.
They do, but it's still.
I wouldn't really go with a remake. My personal opinion is I think at this stage a remake would have to see how well E-Day does. If it doesn't do as well as, I think if you want a remake, E-Day has to do well. If you want a remaster, that's potentially something they could be working on as a side piece whilst E-Day is being worked on with its new software.
That's still a lot of work, though.
Playing that over
games.
The whole premise behind the remaster wouldn't be for Xbox console fans. It would be mainly for PC players. Because if I'm correct, that I don't think the full Gears experience is available on PC.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I don't think it. Well,
so just
you could do it for PlayStation as well.
So what
you could do it for PC, PlayStation, and
hang on. What are we saying, Stubbs?
To put this into context, I don't know if any of you knew this, but back when Gears of War 1 was released, the full version was available on PC, and the dumbed down version was available on the 360. I don't know if any of you knew that. There was big elements missing. Gears of War Ultimate, if you were to play Gears of War Ultimate, play that, then go and play the original on the 360, and you'll notice some major differences.
Remake?
It's in the Gears of War book, the retrospective. The 360 wasn't powerful enough for certain elements of the game. So the real version back in the day was actually on the PC, because the PC could cope with it. The 360, they had to, I think it's something to do with the Berserker. I think it's the Berserker. It's something to do with one of the big bosses.
The Brumac.
Brumac, that's the one. I think it's the Brumac, yeah.
Yeah. They negated it.
A lot of people don't know that, but it's in the Gears of War retrospective book. But yeah, the Gears 2 and 3 is not on PC. And Gears 1, you have to buy on a disc. It's not like available on Steam. It's not. You have to get an actual CD of it. You do.
Yeah, I'm in the camp that there is a remaster/remake ready to go soon, because weren't they talking about this in 2021?
Well,
I would have to agree with that, because there's been so many rumors of the air quotation marks Marcus Fenix collection for so long now that generally, with any good rumor, you'll probably find a hint of truth into it. And that's where we've been hearing about the Marcus Fenix collection for so long now. And that's where, well, if I'm saying it wrong, I'm bad with names, but I mean, I would have to believe that there's probably somewhere somebody is working on something like this. Now, whether it would be as glorious as a remake, I don't know, because I know there's a lot more input, time, and money in a remake versus a remaster.
So the Marcus Fenix collection, Gears fans have wanted since the start of the Xbox One generation. That's how long people have been asking for it for. So they definitely know the campaign started back then, and then their answer was to backwards compatibility. There you go. They rushed under the carpet.
I'll die on the hill where you still can't play Gears of War 2 and 3 on PC, and you've got a new game potentially coming in 26. What a great segue into that series of E-Day, getting those games a year out from the release of E-Day.
That's what I'm saying, and it can move on to other platforms as well as PlayStation.
Exactly.
So if you had that,
Switch 2,
you had those three.
Yeah. If it's a remaster, it's certainly capable, which is probably what it could be.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's more leaning to a remaster than a remake. That would give it the opportunity for new fans, old fans, to all go in with a better understanding of the lore. So then when E-Day hits, bam, everyone's at the same starting point.
I can provide you all YouTube channels that can teach you all the lore if you want. There's plenty of them.
You're all right.
Removable, because you're basically going to preserve the game as it was back in the day by a remaster rather than a remake, which would fundamentally change
Yeah,
that's not saying that E-Day, and I said if the E-Day software, if the E-Day systems itself works perfectly and does exactly what they want, they can still do the remake, and people will buy it. You know, they can still go down the path of really shaping things up. You know, again, I mean, we've seen remasters and remakes of the same game. You know, I mean, we've seen, like, for instance, the remaster of Resident Evil, and then the remake a couple of years later. So it's not as if it's the precedents aren't set there. It's just at this stage, I think it would make financial sense. And again, this is just a hypothetical to kind of get everybody on the same line for before E-Day emerges. You know,
also,
if you you can imagine if you had PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, maybe I don't know, put in a Nintendo port or something in there as well. All at the same point. Everyone knows the law. Everyone's caught up with everything, so that when E-Day comes out, you can ship it out to every platform. That would be good.
Too.
And that would lean into their multi-platform strategy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if they've got a Gears collection ready to go, then that's a perfect segue, isn't it?
As I said, if it to me, that's how I view it.
And then also it would give people insight on, like, you know, everybody has had this. To me, it's like not trying, but you know, you hear you've always heard people say in the past, like, you know, the famous words, Xbox has no games. And I feel this multi-platform strategy is going to be like, hey, by the way, check out this Gears game. And people are going to be mind blown, like, oh my God, I've been sleeping on this for God knows how long.
New audience.
And I that's why I say I just really do feel this would bait people into all of a sudden being like, all right, well, let me see what else Xbox has cooking up. And that's where it would be great to, you know, kind of entice. That's where I just do feel like the Marcus Fenix collection, or however you want to pronounce his name, I just would not be upset at all if that was actually had a much more broader platform reach, because it would be great to have these discussions with people that have never gotten into Gears, that would just be discovering it, and it would breathe new life into the franchise, rather than us getting, like, you know, how many iterations of a Gears game have we received since the inception of even the Xbox One? We've gotten 2. Here we are now into Gen 9, and we've got 3, when they've done 3 Gears of War games on the Xbox 360 alone. It would be nice if this franchise had a lot more what's the a lot more fanfare to it, and that basically a lot more steam to push that engine of development ahead, to be like, hey, this is a very viable franchise. It's actually one of Xbox's better franchises, and it really should not be left behind in, like, some forgotten era.
Also, it would also tie into crossplay.
Yes.
So
yes,
you can imagine that crossplay. You can go through every platform, and you know that the Xbox community would warmly welcome.
Yeah, they'd be welcome, but at first that would be a brutal one-sided war, because it would be like it would be PlayStation's first time ever wall riding with a shotgun, and you'd have people like Stubbsy just running around just blowing people to pieces.
Yeah. I'm all for multi-platform,
quickly, especially on PC. PC, you'll be surprised. This is where I think the sniper rifle would start taking precedence.
There is a version of Gears of War on PC that somebody's made, and I haven't ever tried it. I want to try it, but it's meant to be quite good. Nothing Unreal 5 though.
Cogs of Conflict.
Nothing like that. I don't know. Who knows?
I think the RTS is on PC, isn't it? Yeah.
There you go, Stubbs.
Yes.
Perfect. There you go.
No. Let's delete.
No.
Delete.
Computers, no.
Never existed.
Gears of shit anyway.
I know, it's terrible. I do hate it.
But yeah, I don't know where else you can really go from that. I think there's the opportunity there, and it's a case of will Xbox take that opportunity? Only time will tell. And I think if they are going to take the opportunity, this year would be the perfect opportunity to announce it, because then it leaves, I said, it'll be a perfect segue into, giving them time to get E-Day up and running and set without people whining, when is it coming? When is it coming? If they've got something that's in the midway to keep them interested.
Removable there was that rumor that they were doing like a small kind of project. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah, the small project was the Matrix demo. That was it.
Was there something else as well?
No, I don't think there was. I don't. People presumed it was a game. It was like VJ said. Well, it could be anything. It could have been anything, and you'll never see the light of day. Just something to test with.
Maybe I'm on the hopium, but maybe that's the Fenix collection.
That was a big. That's a big project.
That's a big project.
That's a big project. 3 games
and a remaster. Yeah, just a remaster, like the Gears of War Ultimate.
It's still big though. I mean, that's still free games to do. Even in
the thing is, if you think about it, if you're personally working at a cutting edge studio, you always want to be making the next project, the next IP, the next iteration, the next cutting edge project. So from what I'm hearing, you guys are kind of answering your own question. Number one, a producer's got to want to champion the product and be able to put not just a creative case forward, but as Removal was saying, an economical or financial plan forward as well for it. And I think, as Stubbs was saying, was it Stubbs? You said that they perhaps outsource it, which is probably the most likely thing if they were going to do it. I don't know. Everyone's different, so everyone will have a different opinion on this. But if I was working at somewhere like the Coalition or Naughty Dog or Santa Monica, I wouldn't want to get bogged down in remaking somebody else's work, or I'd ask the powers that be, look, find somebody else to do it. We'll provide support if needed, or we'll call up Stubbs if you need help with the law, which he hasn't read, and then it will get produced. I can't. There is complete sense in what Removable's saying in terms of how they can curate this content, bring it back to life, and bring a whole new audience to the table if they believe that E-Day will be that good. Because it's all fine and well having a great trilogy of remakes or remasters, but not if the current game isn't far enough along for them to say it's a home run. And perhaps that's why it's not got a release date. And if you look at Microsoft's sort of last 2 to 3 years in terms of the trailers they put out, this trailer here is reminiscent of the one that we saw of Fable from about 2 years ago, the Perfect Dark one we saw 2 to 3 years ago. So it is a little bit further down the line, in my opinion. And I think, as Luke said, they've got quite a heavy slate of content, right, coming out over the next 18 months. So, but I'm not saying it's a lost cause, but I definitely think there's, if you're at a cutting edge studio, you always want to be at the bleeding edge of content creation, especially given the time that it takes. It's not just that it's a big job in terms of the number of people, the number of years you put your life into. And I'd want to be creating something new and fresh versus, recreating content which was made 10 years ago, unless I'm being paid extremely well.
So here's a question, VJ. Do you think they went in and were talking about a collection, and this is where they came up with E-Day? How about this instead?
Luke will tell you, because he's an M&A, right? The amount of times that stuff gets thrown up on a board in terms of planning, then the planning changes, then the planning changes again. It's an evolving industry, and I know that a decision's made, and you're kind of stuck with that decision for the next 5 to 10 years. So it's really about what their objectives are, and does this get them closer to the objective by pandering to to their customer base, or is it better to put those resources towards something else that's been pitched, which the people that are basically distributing the budget from whatever's being made available internally and from Game Pass to all the developers, and saying, okay, these are the bets that we need to make. And things can change, but I think as you were saying, Stubbs, and Paul was saying, that the Coalition have been quiet since Hivebusters. I can't remember how long ago that came out. Removable.
2018.
I can't remember. So they've obviously, I think I think everything is true. What everybody's saying, that Luke's saying, well, look, if they're going to make Gears 6 and they want to be at this, this is the potential release date, this is the fidelity, this is what the competition's going to be at, etc., etc. Because Wukong, Black Myth Wukong, every time I see it, looks more and more impressive. So these are sort of the game, and they're made on Unreal Engine 5, and I don't think
15th of December, 2020, Hivebusters.
So yeah, so I think for the first year or two, and I've said this before, it's like when you're planning for a game, and perhaps the coalition said, look, we want to make a new IP, and pitched both, and were perhaps given some time to work on the original on an original IP. Perhaps it didn't quite pan out, and they've said, look, you know what, we know how to make Gears, or Phil or Matt's come in and said, look, we need another Gears. And they said, okay, look, we'll make Gear 6 and we'll put this aside. Perhaps they're working on both. I really don't know, but typically a year is given after a game is made, 6 months to a year, perhaps a year now, in terms of pre-production, in terms of working on one or two projects, and then looking at both and saying, okay, do we go with both? Do we go with one? Do we take a risk? And I think that E-Day is probably one that is less risky. There's a massive fan base out for it. It's probably going to have a really decent budget, and stuff like remakes and remasters are thrown around at publishers, first party, third party, second party, all the time. And I think an interesting thing is like what Bluepoint did, right? Because they made a couple of remakes, right, for Sony, and I have no idea what they're working on now. But again, you know, it might be a good way for Microsoft to build another studio with remakes, and then hopefully as the studio builds and develops and evolves and matures, it can become another first-party studio. So that's another way of going about producing, the remakes or remasters, whether it's for Halo or whether it's for Gears or even Halo or something like that. I really don't know, because I don't know the appetite commercially.
Well, as you say, for appetite for remasters, if you kind of want to see the appetite for remasters, Night Dive Studios is probably the perfect key for that. I mean, they currently are the top tier remaster. I mean, they only recently announced The Thing remaster, which is, that's a guaranteed purchase for me. If you've ever played the Thing game, it was fantastic in terms of its psychological aspect to it. And they generally just go above and beyond. They are, for me, the pinnacle remaster studio. And that's all they do. They remaster. They take on board well-meaning IPs. They treat them with care and precision, and that's why they've become so beloved. It's because they take an IP, they break it down to its core. They look at what it was. They don't mess around too much with the original ethos of it, and then they go beyond in terms of adding in and bringing back old content that was missing, maybe due to to financial reasons, and speak with the original developers and say, what was your intent on this? How was your intent?
I think removal. See, you're speaking to the point I was making, is the fact that if the studio's passionate about making new stuff or remastering or recreating or reproducing or whatever you want to call it, or restoring even, depending on what industry you're in, if you've got a passion for it and you're good at it, and depending on where you are in terms of what you're working on and what you're working on next and when they're next available, and depending on the team size and how easy it is to increase their team size, etc., that's a fantastic.
But I was leaning towards more of the consumer base. Is everything they put out does well, as far as I'm aware. I mean, they wouldn't keep in business if there wasn't appetite for remasters. I think, especially they in fact, Night Dive is people often throw franchises at them saying, "Oh, are you going to do this one? Can you do that one? Can you do this one?" Because they want those franchises remastered. They want those franchises.
Is it their own IP removable, or they work for hire?
No, they literally. I mean, they literally, as far as I'm aware of, they are given IPs to remaster for the appropriate studios.
They just recently did Star Wars Dark Forces,
Quake.
Quake. They did the Turok. They did the Turok games that were for sale on Xbox 360. I mean Xbox. Yeah, Night Dive,
It's
like
third party work for hire, right? External studio.
Yeah. But it's they've got a prestigious. They become a prestigious name for that particularly. And the reason why I say is that if there wasn't appetite for those games, that studio wouldn't have maintained such. It wouldn't be able to keep going.
The remaster they did on Star Wars Dark Forces, especially when it comes to like the cutscenes in the game, there's a night and day difference between the cutscenes alone.
Yeah. They've in some cases, if I remember correctly, on that particular one, they went back to the original models and then kind of redid the entire CGI for it, but to the point where it followed critically the original, every frame rate, every element. So it's like, okay, we can't just upscale this. We need to redo it effectively.
So they're above and beyond a safe pair of hands, is what you're telling me.
Without a doubt, yeah. It's
they're conscious and conscientious about what they're doing, what they're working on, and who they're working for.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware of, the franchises they've touched, no one has ever complained about them. In fact, most people want them to remaster the franchises. They are kind of, as I said, they've kind of become now the top tier of remasters, and so many, at least I know of, so many gamers want them to remaster so many different franchises. So there is, I think in essence, I think to your point originally, there is appetite for remasters. The question, as you rightfully said, though, because they are only one studio, studio. So whom would you get to do that you are trusting with? And that's why I balked a little bit of it being passed to a third-party studio. Now, if that third-party studio was Night Dive, not going to be, it wouldn't bother me whatsoever. If it's given to another studio, would you want something that is iconic? Because that's another bad thing. If you have a franchise that's iconic, you give it to a studio and they do a poorly job to it, you'll get just as big a backlash.
Kind of like Knights of the Old Republic, the situation that game is in right now. The remaster, remake, whatever they're doing, that was an iconic game, and now that thing is in like development hell.
But it's as Luke said, right? It's not just that it's a big job. It's not a straightforward job either.
It seems that's where at least like kind of like at least with removal sanity and also play I guess devil's advocate. The one thing that like comes to mind, at least when we're talking about the coalition, is these guys are considered like some of the foremost experts in Unreal Engine 5. That being said, I think we're probably going to see one of the most beautiful iterations of Gears in Gears E-Day, because it's going to be done in Unreal Engine 5 and it's going to look absolutely insane because of like what we've seen with the test demo that Stubbsy brought up earlier, and then also what they did hand in hand in helping do the Matrix demo. And when it comes to at least Unreal Engine 5, there is a significant amount of the engine that does machine learning, which is where I'm kind of curious on would the Unreal Engine 5 basically speed up production in at least remastering, not remaking, but remastering, purely because of the technology that is in Unreal Engine 5 when it comes to machine learning and its ability to touch up textures, and also to be able to add lighting effects and all sorts of other stuff. And that's where I'm kind of curious on if they were going to remaster the games, would they pass it off to a third party, or would they feel that they have enough technical prowess when it comes to Unreal Engine 5 into thinking that they would be able to remaster the game in a fairly short amount of time without having to go like asininely crazy when it comes to like labor and crunch?
For my own experience is, if you get an AI to remaster something, for every problem it solves, 2 other problems pop up that you probably don't realize. So whilst it may, for instance,
them being the experts in Unreal Engine 5, they might be a little bit more predictive in knowing hey, we know it can do backgrounds and landscapes very easily, but when it comes to like character models and stuff like that, we're probably going to have a much larger hands-on approach.
Yeah, I think at this stage there might be the opportunity for that, but the question I suppose is they won't. In my head, that won't happen until E-Day is complete. Only once then.
No, that's why I was saying, like, yeah, you're right. If they were to do it themselves, they probably would wait till E-Day is done, purely because yes, they would have all those assets and textures, everything already loaded up into Unreal Engine 5, so that way it would be able to assist in at least polishing the game up a little bit more quicker.
But I think we're all kind of guessing here, isn't it? It would be nice to me if they did a remaster prior to E-Day. Just that I think it would help in financial terms. It would help in setting everything on an equal playing field, and I think it would obviously make Microsoft a lot of money. But that said, as you said, it's 2020, which was the DLC. So they've had 4 years. Maybe those 4 years is been working on E-Day. Maybe this 4 years has been working on something else.
I don't bear in mind that UE5 has also had. Is it now 3 iterations?
Oh, is it? I thought it is.
Yeah, is it 5.3 now, Luke?
Yes. Yeah. 5.3.
Yeah. And each step has had.
So you think there's 4 years of actually kind of spent really getting to teeth and grips with the actual UE5?
Yeah. I think.
Well, the Coalition had UE5, I believe, a year before release. They had it well in advance.
Yes, I say
when did it release?
Before the start of this gen.
So since
removable, you've got. I mean, first of all, you've got to bake in, pre-production, testing level. You don't need a completed engine at the stages that they've gone through, right? But if you just look at this trailer where it says in-game footage, they've obviously, nailed down, the assets that they're going to use in the game, the resolutions that they can achieve, and all the other facets of building a game. So they've always been working on it, right? So, but the planning for the game, it takes a lot of time, and then the testing of your levels.
The reason I'm just thinking because it's been 4 years. Does that mean it's going to take another 2-3 years to polish it off, or is that meaning that actually, I don't know, they've been working on something whilst before focusing on this, or is it literally mean that as I said previously, this is?
I mean, how many people work at, does anybody know how many people work at the Coalition? What the team size?
About 500 stubs, I think, something like that.
500 people.
Okay.
Yeah. It's it's like 350 to 500. It's in that range.
But I do believe some of the studio may be remote as well now. They had to change things up.
But
that's a humongous team size for this sort of game, right?
Yeah, it's a big team. But they said like when they released that, in fact, before they released that test demo in UE5, they said, you're not going to hear from us for quite a long time because we are building the tools for our next game. We're they're in the weeds of UE5, getting their pipeline up to scratch. So,
okay. Sorry, Luke. I had to check this because they are based in Canada, right? Vancouver, is it?
Yeah.
Because I just went on to LinkedIn. They're saying they're a 200+ person team, and I'm not saying there's not 350, but 200 sounds about more reasonable to me. 350 at the stage of where they perhaps are in their production just sounds completely ludicrous to me. But what do I know?
So Unreal 5, it says, was revealed in 2020, 13th of May, with early access available on the 26th of May 2021. And it was officially released to all developers on the 5th of April 2022. So they were probably part of the early access within the May period of 2021, or maybe before. But so
Yeah,
which makes sense. If you think about the 2020 DLC, they've probably given it a year to kind of, make any tweaks, make any more adjustments. 2021 is when they got the UA5, which is then they're going to spend 2 to 3 years really polishing up their knowledge and their parameters and their assets for that. So 2021 up to 20, so it hits 2024. You've got about 4 years of just polishing it up now. So actually, as you said, it's more to you, VJ. I think you're right. I think it's more likely that actually this has just been.
I think Luke hit it on the nail right from the outset, because Unreal doesn't come out of the box and suddenly works for every single game you will possibly want to make. You need to build your own tools for it. You have to define your pipeline for your specific game that you're making in Unreal. So, and I think what Luke hit on nail on the head when he said, look, they've got to build out their tech, which is fundamentally their pipeline. And while they're doing that, which can take time, is that then the pre-production is kind of planning out, what is this game? What are we making? Are we including Stubbs as a Furby in it? And, in the intro sequence, are we building tutorials so at least Stubbs can finish that part of the game when we release it?
All
these things have to be considered carefully. And obviously the Moss Charger was debated for about, at least a quarter.
A year, easily a year.
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't, it's a huge burn,
Yeah. Plus, if you look at
take into consideration exactly what Stubbs' requirements are.
Yeah, and if you look at, presume they've clearly finished their pipeline work now. I don't know when they entered production, but I would think they're in production now. But production is generally the part that takes the least amount of time relative to the whole cycle of development. So production on most games, even the big AAA ones, takes like 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah, no,
So
I think you also is this game going to have multiplayer component to it? Is that
presumably.
Most of
I
them
would
have,
say so.
Yeah.
And then the testing, right? All the testing, especially coming out on console, which either an early access or whatever. I don't know if they do early access on this. I'm really not familiar with the franchise, so you're not going to have to help me out.
No, but yeah.
I
mean, yeah.
I think what we've worked out is that this is, to be honest with you, there is very unlikely there's going to be a remaster remake. And this is more that the Coalition has spent most of its time getting its assets, getting its software built up so that it can solely focus on the E-Day game.
I'll tell you a really good correlation to this. I don't know if you agree to this, Luke, but if the DLC came out in 2020, you only have to look at Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch. Their last big games that were released were also in 2020, and they're yet to announce what they're working on, or or we can anticipate what they were. So it kind of gives you a kind of a framework, as in perhaps they'll announce their new games next year and then release the end of next year, or perhaps it'll be 2026. So somewhere around there, I think you're safe to sort of hang your hat on in terms of when it potentially might come out.
Yeah.
Unless obviously Stubbs delays it and says no, it's not coming out until the Series X2.
I won't delay it. Don't worry. Fine.
Good.
Delay it.
I have to throw in a joke there, and there's Mr. Stubbs.
But yeah, I think it's been a good show tonight. I think we'll wrap it up there because it's we don't like to go too far over the 2-hour mark. So I had a good conversation there, especially a good long conversation about Gears, I'd call that. And there'll be many more in the future when more info's brought out.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Gears special. That's what you need to do, Stubbsy.
I'm going to organise it.
He'll do a Gears party the day it's launched. The day it's announced as a launch. It'll be a barbecue Gears party around here or something. Just full out.
Yeah.
Himself.
Actually, I just had a quick question for Luke. Luke, are you looking forward to Black Myth Wukong?
Yes. Yeah, I am. Yeah, hugely.
Cool.
Yeah.
I know that's Removal mentions it quite a lot. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at that in terms of if it does come out this year, in terms of what UE5, how it represents UE5, I should say. Yeah, it's it bodes well for games like Gears 6 further down the line, as Paul mentioned. As it might be even on UE 5.4 or 5.5 by that time. So So it looks good. It all looks good.
Mm. They did
really promising.
Their PC specs the other day for their recommended stuff. It's very high.
I'm covered. I'm
That
good.
time he-
Yeah.
So
Barely your PC specs in.
I don't think I'm covered.
No, I think you might. Well, no, you'll be fine, but it just compromises are required.
Yeah, just 720p, no shadows, 30 frames. You'll be fine.
They've built lower resolution models just for you, Mr. Stubbs.
That's just yeah.
Well, my PC isn't. There is people in the community that got 1070, so mine's not that bad.
It's a beast.
Yeah, not compared to yours though.
Well, no, but
Luke,
He's got part of Microsoft servers all lapped into himself.
yeah, I've got National Grid helping me.
Yeah,
he's running 4090s in SLI.
Brought the tech back.
Yeah, there's just seems like it's going to be a packed definitely a packed fourth quarter of video games, and next year already seems to be highly competitive, shall we say?
Yeah, as I said, there's a lot of there. To be honest with you, there was a lot of games that are coming out this year, a lot of games that are potentially coming out next year, and further down the line. And that's not even picking up the indie game scene. It's not even picking up the smaller games that are potentially going to be coming out that we won't notice. The other multi-platform games that kind of dot around the Christmas periods. If anything, it just means that Jesus Christ, how much time are you going to find to spend time to actually enjoy them?
Yeah.
It's
Where they
it's
going
a
to
good
fit them all
time to be a
in?
gamer.
That's scheduling for the back end of this year. Stalker in September, and then you've got Call of Duty October, then you've got Indiana Jones, Avowed.
See, and you're not even including all the Japanese
Exactly.
studios and Chinese studios that are releasing content.
Mm-hmm. It's this is the thing, isn't it? It's going to be a large collection of games and money you all will have to save up.
Well, not if you're on Game Pass with all these games coming to Game Pass. But not all of them will be in Game Pass, obviously. We know that.
Like the Star Wars Outlaws.
Has anybody played Machine Games' previous games? And in that, and the question related to
Wolfenstein.
I haven't really played the Wolfenstein games, but I mean, I'm looking forward to Indiana Jones, I suppose, out of all of the content that's out there, perhaps because it's different to what I have been playing, but it kind of seems to be at the same sort of pacing and same sort of pipeline design as their previous Wolfenstein games. Is that a fair assessment, or am I completely off on left field or something?
No, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think you can see the DNA of the Wolfenstein games in the Indiana Jones games. I mean, obviously first person, and the mechanics are slightly different, obviously, because you're playing as Indy, so you've got a whip and all that sort of stuff. But I want to play as Luke. No. Well, yeah, I know, but that's only for very special people. But yeah, like
talking about you, Stubbs.
They've gone for what they know in terms of perspective and stuff, and obviously they also know how to write and kill Nazis very well. So Indiana Jones fits extremely well for that. So
perfect fit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So of all the games I saw out the last 4 or 5 days of last week, that was the one game that kind of stood out to being something different compared to what I've experienced recently. And I guess I think Centurion was talking about the nostalgia, and I think Removals and yourself were talking about the humor. It's just sometimes it's just a lot of it's about timing, right, in terms of what game takes you. And just on that last note, I just want to give a shout out to that game I saw at the weekend with Indie Successors. No, sorry, what was it? Possessors.
Possessors. Yeah,
really good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
To at least just throw it out there though, because I've played the Wolfenstein games.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're capturing the essence of Indiana Jones with the optional desire to go do like the puzzles and stuff that are in the game.
Yeah.
See, that to me, that's something different than Wolfenstein. It was more like, all right, how do I get from point A to point B and run and gun?
Yeah.
This one they've thrown a little bit more of the gameplay element of like, hey, do I want to go be the Indiana Jones archaeologist, or do I just want to go full blown action movie?
Yeah, it had really good. It reminded me a little bit of the puzzles sort of sequences in. Probably look a lot more polished actually than Call of the Sea, and I really loved the voice acting, which I thought some of the games that I saw at the events. It still irks me in terms of the voice directors or the people that choose the voice acting that overlays the characters. But I thought the voice choices, besides the main indie guy, I've forgotten the guy's name, were pretty good. They were really drew me in. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Troy Baker done a great job as well for.
Oh, thank you, thanks, Paul.
Was that a bit of a tweak with AI? Because to be honest with you, he's almost nailed down Harrison Ford's voice. So I did wonder, is there like a little bit of a...
How dare you?
I think he's a very good interpreter, and he's very talented. This is why he's requested a lot. So he can pull it off.
Because it's when I was listening. It's like when I listened to it, it's like I could see, I could tell there was something slightly different, but it was just like a niggle. Nothing that was. I was like, oh my god, this doesn't sound like Indiana Jones whatsoever, Harrison Ford whatsoever.
He's just really good. He's just really good.
It was more.
I think there's a video. I think there's a video online about it, about how he did the voice or it came together. Luke might know.
Is this Troy Baker?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Removable saying, is that his actual voice? I think it is. I think there was something about it on the internet, but or has it been? What was you saying? Removal AI.
There's a slight AI tweak to it a little bit, to try and lean towards more of Harrison Ford's voice, or was it literally all in his? Yeah, it was all impression. Was it? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I mean, if you listen to Troy Baker speak in real life, he doesn't sound that far away from Harrison Ford as it is. So he's only had to do. I mean, he's exceptionally. I mean, look. If you look at Troy Baker and then think Joel's voice comes out of Troy Baker, that tells you all you need to know about his ability to do different accents and stuff like that. So, and
even
the mimicry of.
Well, the trouble is Harrison Ford's voice is recognizable. That's what I'm saying. Is you could hear his voice and just his voice.
Yeah,
you wouldn't, and that's why when I heard his voice, it was like. It was almost perfect. It was a niggle, but it's like
you can hear that it's not quite Harrison Ford, but it's very close.
It kind of it felt it's like Harrison Ford that was just maybe had a little bit of a cold.
Yeah,
it's Harrison Ford if he could give a shit to voice the video game. I think
exactly.
Hence all the footage being in the Himalayas.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad they cast the Harrison Ford character model. That was
they should have cast Luke.
Much more handsome.
Well, it's the question. They've actually picked up a lot of the character models. So they picked up the original. It's not just Harrison Ford, is it? They picked up some of the other characters. I can't think of the name. The guy from. Yes. Yeah, they've picked up a few character models where they've gone back and scanned in old footage. I think they used old Indiana Jones footage and to try and get the models correct.
Yeah,
I think so because he passed. Is it he passed away? Good.
Who Harrison Ford?
No, not Harrison Ford. Yeah, was it about 5-6 years?
No, I think Tony Todd is still alive because I remember I see him on Twitter.
He just did Venom in Spider-Man 2.
You just ripped him.
I'm trying to think. Who's the guy that was in the librarian guy?
He's done Venom.
The guy that was like Indiana Jones's like little sidekick. His hand, like the guy. Oh my god, I know. Do you know who I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yes, he was in the second one, wasn't he? With Sean Connery. It was. And I looked at his face. And I was like, Jesus! And I think they scanned. If I'm correctly reading it, they scanned the original films or something to try and get the character modeling for him because he's been dead. I think it's like 10 years or something like that. But as I was thinking
the librarian. Do you mean the one that was in Marcus
Brody, Denholm Elliott? Yes,
that's it. Marcus Brody. Yes, Marcus. Yeah, because didn't he? Was it? Oh, he's not been dead. Is it? Did he do the Crystal Skull?
He died October. He died October 6, 1992.
Ah, yeah. Wow. So. And I was sure they said they'd gone back to old footage and they scanned into footage because they didn't have anything else to work with, but they wanted him in it again.
Well, yeah, like I mean, he was technically like the. It's kind of like like
He was
how
a comic relief character, isn't he?
it was. Yeah, it was like kind of like how Q was the essence of James Bond, and same with Marcus Brody. Yeah, definitely, he was like the comic relief.
Yeah, good call.
Mm.
Good comparison there.
That's what. Yeah, it's just. That's who I was thinking of. Sorry. Yeah, that was the guy I was trying to think of because that's when I saw the trailer. I was like, oh my god, hang on, how they managed to get him in there? Yeah.
Good work.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yep. Gonna cut it off there. This is what always happens here. I try and end it and it carries on.
I can't believe we're in a Tony Todd memorial and you're cutting it off.
Should have ended it an hour ago.
Exactly. That just shows how horrible Stubbs is.
Carry on then.
No, because we know that, you know what it is. Stubbs will get more grumpy as it gets on further on. Trust me, as someone who's talks to him to about 3 or 4
a.m. He's gonna sleep.
He
does
sometimes.
Tell you what, I'll leave the stream on. Just carry on. Leave the computer on.
We'll let you go.
Thing is, removable would be though, because I remember once.
Yes. As soon as Stubbs leaves, I'm gonna start playing copyrighted music through the microphone.
Nice.
It don't bother me. Oh, it don't.
Should we do a favourite game of the showcase or something and end on that? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, you can do that
Stubbs.
quickly.
Gears of War E-Day.
Even though it's a tactics.
Yep. Gears of War.
Tactics.
Centurion.
E-Day.
I
think
would
the guest should
actually.
go first. Yeah.
I would have to say probably Gears, like that, because that made me just all of a sudden re-download the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, and I'm gonna go through them all now, and so I'd have to say, yeah, Gears actually kind of like really did it for me on this. There was a lot to take away from this one, but yeah, I would have to say at least Gears was the showpiece for me.
Luke.
Doom.
Ooh,
Nice.
Doom. Paul.
Yeah, it hit me in the the emotions of Gears of War. To see that come back, otherwise it was Doom a close second. So yeah, Gears of War for me.
Yeah, Mr. VJ.
I'm torn between Avowed and Indiana Jones only because they're kind of really coming sort of in the next 6 months or sooner. So
well, did you see what happened with the release date with Avowed on accident?
I haven't. No, sorry.
So apparently, Obsidian accidentally blasted the actual release date on their website and had to hurry up and take it down. Wario64 put it out there. I'll also send it to Stubbs to send it to you. But apparently, the game is slated for November 12th.
Oh,
wow!
VJ, just
if we haven't got enough games.
Just before you go, what did you think of 33 Expedition or Expedition 33 at the showcase?
Good choice.
Yeah,
Expedition
quite
33.
Yeah, quite curious. Did you remember seeing it?
I can't remember now.
Get it up
is it question 2? Who's the question 2?
It's to you. It's to you because it's like a high fidelity turn-based RPG. It looked very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I remember. I'll tell you what. I'll have a look at it and then I'll message you.
Yeah, have a look at the trailer. Yeah, see what you think. I'm interested to know what you think.
There's so many good games, even like not even at the show, like in the other shows as well, in Devolver and stuff like that. There were just so many good games. It was just great, insane. But I'll definitely have a look at it.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, Avowed and Indiana Jones because they're out relatively soon. There you go.
Gears of War should have been in there, VJ.
No, I'm not really into it. I don't
I
mind
know
playing
you're
Gears of War.
not.
I think it's
I
a lot
know.
of fun. I'm just not into the lore. It's just some blokes shooting guns and stuff, but it's just a lot of fun.
Oh,
I
it's
really
normally
enjoy
what
it.
you say is it's some bloke's dad.
Meaty
Some blokes,
men
yeah.
shooting guns.
We haven't asked for removable.
It's great in co-op, man.
Oh, okay. This is going to be a bit of a left centre for me, but it was. I can't think of the title. It was set in. It was one with the big alligator.
South of Midnight.
South of Midnight.
South of Midnight.
That's gonna be a good one.
That
art style on that game is insane.
It was unique.
There we go.
Out of field. Brilliant.
Good choice.
Stubbs, you can go now.
Wake up, Stubbs.
I'm here. I'm still here. Right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming on, Centurion. Can you tell people where they want to find you, if they want to find you?
If you guys want to find me, you can find me at Centurion1307, YouTube, Xbox, and X, formerly known as Twitter. You can also find me every Wednesday night actually it's more like 12 a.m. Thursday morning on my channel on East Coast time, where I do what is known as the Crazy Casual Podcast, where I have my casual brother with me who does not keep up with the social media banter and stuff like that. Because everybody always talks about, like, who's more important in gaming? Is it the casuals or is it the hardcore? And it's more like to show, like, the perspective of gaming from is somebody who doesn't get involved like we do in keeping up with all the bits and details of gaming as a whole.
Ooh.
It's a very good show. That is, honestly, it's you want to have a listen. It's quite good because you actually play a game while you're playing it, don't you? It's not like a panel.
Sometimes we actually use gameplay or gameplay that I have recorded, or I will play a game.
Okay. But yeah, thanks for coming on.
But yeah, things will definitely pick up. I'm moving in the next 2 months, and I will then have a full-blown room that I will turn into a studio, and I will stop having to podcast in my living room. I am so excited.
That's good to hear. That is. And Luke, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no worries. Pleasure as always.
Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Just at LukeSteel90 on X. Just find me there, and you'll find other stuff.
Nice and
happy things.
Yeah. And Paul, thanks for coming on.
Been a pleasure, and especially talking to you, you great folk, Centurion, Luke Steele, Mr. VJ, Removable. It's been a pleasure in your company. Had some good conversation, and yeah, if you want to find me, it is Paul AFC on virtually every platform, YouTube, X, and Twitch. And I need to get back on the streaming scene sometime, so I need to get my butt in gear for that. And thanks to you, Stubbs, for having me on.
Yeah, no, it's been a good one. It has. Yeah, thanks for coming on. And VJ, thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thank you for having me, and see you again soon.
And Removable Sanity, thanks for coming on again.
Much appreciated. A big thank you to obviously Centurion, Luke, and Paul for coming on and giving us their wisdom and knowledge on this chat. It was absolutely superb to hear them. Hopefully we'll try and get them either all back on at some point or individually throughout the year. If you are interested in listening to my bullshit, you can find me on X, Minds, Rumble, YouTube, and Xbox under the name Removable Sanity.
Thanks for coming on, and it's a good show. You can find me on Stubbs Gaming on X, formerly known as Twitter, Stubbs Gaming on YouTube, Stubbs Gaming on Rumble, which we're currently live on Rumble too, and I think that's about it. But thanks everyone, and we will see you next week.
Have a good one.
Ciao for now.